Chapter 931, Pseudo-Nirvana Void. I didn't think the records of the ancient Rain celestial realm was actually true. Esteemed Xuanbao smiled as he looked at the moongazer serpent moving forward while surrounded by Alhaven cultivators. His eyes lit up and his right hand waved in the air as he softly said, "Rain, celestial guard!" After he spoke, bursts of roars echoed among the stars. A giant crack appeared before esteemed Xuanbao. This crack was like a wound being opened in thin air, and it was at least 1,000 feet long. An extremely powerful pressure surrounded the area. There was a flash of golden light as a golden-armored man walked out. This golden man gave off a golden glow. He was as eye-catching as the sun. He wore a gorgeous golden armor and looked like a soldier of the heavens. With one step, this golden-armored man descended from the crack. Then there were more golden flashes and 3 more golden-armored men stepped out. At this instant, the entire area was lit up by this golden glow. When Wang Lin saw these 4 golden-armored men, his pupils mercilessly shrank. He was extremely startled. "Celestial guards!" Wang Lin clearly felt that these 4 golden-armored men gave off the same aura as Ta Shan. These 4 big fellows were clearly refined using the secret method that Celestial Emperor Qing Lin created. Celestial guards are split between gold, silver, copper, and iron rank. These 4 big fellows are all gold rank. Wang Lin looked at esteemed Xuanbao and quickly retreated toward the edge of the vortex. After the 4 golden-armored celestial guards appeared, esteemed Xuanbao's expression raised his right hand while wearing a neutral expression. In a flash, the 4 celestial guards charged at the moongazer serpent. As the moongazer serpent roared, its tentacles swept everything around it. At the same time, Blood God and the others that were around it immediately charged out at the 4 celestial guards. The Blood God formed a seal as he moved forward. Then blood light spread out and he waved his hand. A sea of blood appeared out of nowhere and charged forward. However, when the sea of blood hit the celestial guards, it barely made them pause for a moment. The celestial guards split off in 4 directions and surrounded the moongazer serpent along with the Alhaven cultivators. Esteemed Xuanbao's right hand reached into the void once more and another crack appeared. 9 black butterflies suddenly flew out. These 9 butterflies were completely black, and from a distance, they looked extremely ferocious. The moment they appeared, they flapped their wings, and a storm was set off. This storm was very powerful, and it swept forward. The 9 butterflies flew forward in a dance. The moment the butterflies appeared, even with Wang Lin's mental fortitude, his expression changed greatly. This is the butterfly formed by the god-slaying war chariot," Wang Lin gasped. But then he immediately discovered a difference. The butterfly formed by the war chariot was colorful and extremely beautiful. However, these 9 butterflies were completely black. It was obvious these butterflies' power went toward another extreme compared to Wang Lin's butterfly. What is this old man's identity? Wang Lin's scalp felt numb. Not even Qing Shui made Wang Lin this shocked. Not even the mysterious cultivator who stopped the battle between Qing Shui and the blood god made Wang Lin feel so much disbelief. A celestial guard and the butterfly were both treasures Wang Lin possessed. However, when he saw it in someone else's hands, it caused his shock to reach its peak. Wang Lin took a deep breath and no longer looked. He moved very fast and charged toward a treasure that was floating among the stars that he had been eyeing for a while. This treasure was the wood carving the black fiend devil saint had taken out. Although only half of it remained, it still gave off a powerful pressure. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. The current battle was not something he could participate in anymore. The best choice right now was to fish in these troubled waters. Wang Lin moved very fast as he charged toward that half-damaged wood carving. There were many other people who had the idea of fishing for treasures during this battle, so it was not surprising that there were several cultivators fighting each other around the wood carving, not allowing anyone to get close. Wang Lin's arrival immediately caught the attention of the cultivators. This caused these people to immediately change directions without hesitation. The Alhaven cultivators hesitated for a moment, but the Alliance cultivators immediately sent a few people after Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm as his right hand formed a seal, then he waved his hand. A gust of wind charged forward like crazy, and following that, Wang Lin mercilessly threw a punch. There was a loud bang and the violent ripples from the punch combined with the gust of wind to create a power unique to Wang Lin. The power of the ancient god combined with the power of spells was the start of Wang Lin's strength. However, these two forces had just started fusing and hadn't shown their true strength yet. As it swept by those alliance cultivators, their bodies and origin souls trembled, and they felt an unimaginable, mysterious force arrive. They couldn't help but retreat, because as if they would immediately die if they didn't retreat. They had never encountered such a spell in all their years of cultivation. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the ancient god furnace appeared around him. In the blink of an eye, he switched places with one of them. In the eyes of the surrounding cultivators, their visions blurred and Wang Lin also changed positions. He then charged out and arrived next to the wood carving in an instant. However, just as he closed in, a ray of sword energy appeared from the void and charged at him. This sword energy contained a very tyrannical aura, as if everything must avoid it or be destroyed. Wang Lin wasn't unfamiliar with this sword energy. It was something that belonged to Ling Tianhu. This treasure belongs to my Daolu sword sect Shenlong. The cold voice echoed as a ray of sword energy closed in. If Wang Lin tried to take the treasure, he would be hit by the sword energy. Wang Lin's expression remained neutral, and he didn't hesitate at all to seize the half-destroyed wood carving. His eyes revealed a mysterious light as he opened his mouth and spat out something to block before him. The 18 Hell Celestial Sealing Stamp instantly appeared, and the sword energy smashed into it and collapsed. The 18 Hell Celestial Sealing Stamp didn't budge at all, then Wang Lin pulled it back. An old acquaintance who barely escaped with his soul back then dares to steal a treasure before me? Wang Lin left these cold words, and the expression on Chen Long's face changed. He knew it wasn't the time to kill right now, so he left. There were too many cultivators during this battle, so it was impossible to clearly see each other's faces. Also, Wang Lin never stayed in one place for too long and was constantly moving, so Chen Long hadn't recognized Wang Lin. However, when Chen Long looked over, Wang Lin looked a bit familiar, but he would never have matched this person with Wang Lin. Now that he heard Wang Lin's words, it was as if a bolt of thunder had flashed across his mind. Disbelief filled his eyes as he exclaimed, "You!" Wang Lin didn't pay any attention to Chen Long and disappeared. He wandered the battlefield and continued to take the magic treasures of people who died. However, his divine sense was locked on to the Moongazer Serpent, waiting for a chance. A moment when the Alliance began their battle against the Moongazer Serpent so he could obtain the inheritance inside the Moongazer Serpent. Wang Lin's gaze would occasionally turn to the woman in the blue dress. Her demeanor toward him was very strange. While Wang Lin was cautiously wandering around, he had been wondering who this woman was. The 4 golden celestial guards surrounded the Moongazer Serpent. They created a golden circle that trapped the Moongazer Serpent inside. As Blood God and company retaliated, the 9 butterflies flapped their wings and formed a storm with the Moongazer Serpent as the center. A vortex that seemed to connect the heavens and earth was formed. Blood God and company had gloomy expressions inside the vortex. They used their respective magic treasures, creating constant rumbles. The Moongazer Serpent was even more angry. Being trapped twice had made it almost crazy. It opened its big mouth and let out an infuriated roar. As it roared, the words of the ancient gods came out. The Moongazer Serpent was using a spell of the ancient gods. Esteemed Xuanbao's eyes lit up, and he pointed forward while laughing. The speed of the 9 butterflies' wings immediately increased, and black lines appeared. The countless black lines intersected around the Moongazer Serpent, and quickly formed a siege. The 4 golden celestial guards let out roars and their bodies vibrated and instantly grew into 1,000-foot giants. Then they launched their attacks together. Esteemed Xuanbao's face had a smile as his right hand reached out and a crack appeared. Green gas came out of this crack. Along with the green gas, an aura that made the minds of all the cultivators within 5,000 kilometers tremble appeared. Wang Lin's body trembled. When he closely looked over, he saw an arrow come out from the crack. This arrow was too large. It was more than 300 feet long and 7 feet wide. It was completely green and the arrow tip had 6 edges. At the end of the arrow, there were purple feathers. In addition, there were some dark red bloodstains on the arrow. What shook all the surrounding cultivators was that dark red blood stain. The moment the arrow appeared, even the expressions of Blood God and company changed. Even Master Flamespark, who was fighting against Wudo-chan, trembled and immediately saw the 300-foot arrow. Pseudo-Nirvana Void Arrow. Mid-month, hoping to get the like button pressed for the video. Chapter 932. Aura of the Ancient God. At this moment, the roar of the moongazer serpent echoed, and it contained the language of the ancient gods. A giant crack appeared and headed straight for esteemed Xuan Bao. In the blink of an eye, the space around esteemed Xuan Bao collapsed. As the rumbles echoed, esteemed Xuan Bao's expression was calm. He pointed at the 300-foot arrow and said, "Nirvana Void!" Master Flamespark's pupils shrank, and he became serious. He remembered this arrow. It was one of the Alliance's great treasures, the pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow. Rumor had it that the arrow's origin was unknown and had existed for a long. It had been around since as early as the Celestial Realm. Rumors also said that the bloodstain on it gave it strange powers. When he decided to slaughter his way into the Alliance, he had prepared a counter to all the treasures he knew the Alliance had. When he saw the pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow, he sneered. This pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow is rumored to be unpredictable, but I wonder how it compared to this moon beast. The 300-foot arrow trembled with a point of esteemed Xuan Bao's finger. It then rushed forward like an arrow that was shot from a bow and headed straight for the moongazer serpent. The moongazer serpent's eyes revealed endless coldness. The moment it saw the 300-foot arrow, it felt a sense of danger. When it saw the arrow that it sensed danger from coming at it, it opened its mouth and let out a roar. Specks of light appeared before it and quickly condensed into another ancient god finger. After the ancient god finger appeared, it immediately shot toward the arrow. The moongazer serpent let out an angry roar and countless moongazer serpents charged out from inside it. There were hundreds of thousands of them at varying sizes. The moment they appeared, the battlefield became even more chaotic. This battlefield was no longer between Alheaven and the Alliance, but the Alliance against the moongazer serpent. When countless moongazer serpents charged out, the expressions of the Alliance cultivators changed greatly. They quickly retreated, but their speed was no match for the moongazer serpents. The countless moongazer serpents spread out and started a bloodbath. During the chaotic battle, some Alheaven cultivators were affected. As for Wang Lin, a 30,000-foot moongazer serpent charged at him. His expression was gloomy as he quickly avoided it, and didn't bother getting entangled with it. Wang Lin knew that the only reason for these smaller moongazer serpents to appear was to condense the most powerful ancient god finger. At this moment, the arrow charged over and collided with the ancient god finger formed by the moongazer serpent. A thunderous bang echoed across the northern region of the Alliance. An ancient aura came from the dark red blood stain that covered the arrow and directly broke through the ancient god finger. Then it lunged straight toward the moongazer serpent. This scene caused Wang Lin's eyes to open wide in shock. For the first time, the moongazer serpent paused and then roared once more. At this instant, all of the smaller moongazer serpents, including the one after Wang Lin, turned around and began to roar. This wasn't the roar of one moongazer serpent, but the roars of hundreds of thousands of moongazer serpents under the call of their mother. Ancient god fingers appeared one by one until the area was filled with ancient god fingers. All of Wang Lin's pores opened up and ecstasy filled his eyes as he absorbed this aura like crazy. He could clearly feel his ancient god body's strength increase by leaps and bounds. The illusory fourth star, hidden between his eyebrows, was becoming more corporeal at this moment. All of this made Wang Lin ecstatic. Ancient goddess aura. I didn't think that an ancient goddess aura would form here. Although there isn't much, it indeed exists. Countless ancient god fingers formed within the area, and in the blink of an eye, an almost corporeal ancient god finger appeared before the eyes of the surrounding cultivators. The strange cracks on the finger were extremely clear. This scene even caused the expression of esteemed Xuan Nao to change. His expression became a bit gloomy. This moongazer serpent is a bit different from what the ancient records say. However, I have the pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow, so no matter how strong the moongazer serpent is, it can avoid this arrow. Esteemed Xuan Bao was very confident in the strength of the pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow. Although my pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow is only rank 9, if I can capture this moongazer serpent and refine it, it will become another pseudo-Nirvana Void treasure. By fusing the two, along with the tens of thousands of years of preparation I made, I am 80% confident in creating a rank 8 pseudo-Nirvana Void treasure. This way, my position in the Elder Group will increase, and I'll have some means to contend with Zhong Xuanzi. The pseudo-nirvana void arrow charged ahead until it collided with the ancient god finger that had just reformed. The moongazer serpent's roar turned into an impact and its huge body charged forward after the ancient god finger. However, the moment the arrow collided with the ancient god finger, a shocking change occurred in the Alliance's northern region. The ancient god finger unexpectedly collapsed again. A thunderous rumble echoed, and all the surrounding cultivators, including Wang Lin, felt the blood in their bodies surge and directly coughed it out. If Wang Lin was like this, then there was no need to talk about others. Their bodies directly collapsed into piles of flesh and blood. They were shaken to death. Even the expressions of Blood God and company changed greatly, and they quickly retreated. In the blink of an eye, no cultivators were near the moongazer serpent anymore. Only those 4 golden celestial guards were still clinging to the moongazer serpent. They worked together with the 9 black butterflies to keep creating storms. The instant the ancient god finger collapsed, more than half of the smaller moongazer serpents collapsed. Bursts of blue blood spattered, making it seem as if space itself was dyed blue. This was the first time Wang Lin had seen a moongazer serpent's collapse. Although they were only small moongazer serpents, the amount shook his mind. The moongazer serpent was something that lived inside the ancient god's body, and its toughness was unimaginable. Even small moongazer serpents weren't creatures a cultivator could break, but what happened just now turned all that upside down. What level of treasure is this pseudo-nirvana void arrow? Wang Lin wiped away the blood on his mouth as he stared at the scene before him. His mind was completely blank. Along with the small moongazer serpents and the ancient god finger, esteemed Xuan Bao's pseudo-nirvana void arrow also collapsed. Countless cracks appeared on the arrow as it faced the unimaginable impact of the ancient god finger, and it shattered inch by inch. Esteemed Xuan Bao's eyes shined brightly. Although things had turned out a bit different from what he expected, overall, it wasn't too much outside his expectations. This moongazer serpent belongs to this old man. Esteemed Xuan Bao laughed and moved forward. A shadow flashed out from the shattered pseudo-nirvana void arrow. This shadow was also an arrow. This arrow was only 3 inches long, but it looked exactly the same as the 300-foot arrow. The only difference was that the blood wasn't dark red, but bright red. It was as if it was just stained with blood. It was scarlet red. This was the true pseudo-nirvana void arrow. The arrow charged out with unimaginable speed. In an instant, it pierced between the moongazer serpent's eyes. The instant it penetrated the moongazer serpent, the arrow released an unimaginable force, and the resulting rumbling caused the stars to shake. For the first time, the moongazer serpent's large body trembled and retreated. A black vortex appeared between the moongazer serpent's eyes and collapsed violently. A fountain of blue blood gushed out. The arrow rotated inside the black vortex and charged deeper. Every time it charged, there would be collapse. The moongazer serpent's miserable scream echoed across the stars. This mournful cry made Wang Lin tremble, as if there was a terrible pain in his heart. He retreated even faster while looking at the moongazer serpent. This was the first time the moongazer serpent had been seriously injured. The sound of its cry echoed as the remaining smaller moongazer serpents all began to collapse. All the smaller moongazer serpents in the area died. The moongazer serpent's eyes were blood red. It was truly angry. The anger this time was far more intense than anything it had felt in the past tens of thousands of years. This was especially true for the arrow that now threatened its survival. Angered, the moongazer serpent's mournful cry reached its peak, and 7 faint stars suddenly appeared before it. As the stars rotated, one of them suddenly exploded under the roar of the moongazer serpent, a shattered star of an ancient god. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light when he saw this. As the star collapsed, an extremely powerful force charged out from the moongazer serpent. This force was so powerful that the vortex between the moongazer serpent's eyes was torn apart. The arrow was also forced out of the moongazer serpent's body. This scene caused the expression of esteemed Xuan Bao, who was closing in, to change. Impossible. According to the ancient records, an ordinary moongazer serpent can possibly survive a pseudo-nirvana void treasure. Although this moongazer serpent is large and fierce, it should be seriously injured. Master Flamespark sneered when he saw all of this. Senior said that the purpose of sending this moongazer serpent into the alliance was to make it angry. The angrier it becomes, the more damage this beast can do. The moongazer serpent's anger reached its peak, and it borrowed the power of the shattered star to push the arrow out. Due to the intense pain, it had almost lost its mind. Its eyes were red, and the only thought in its mind was kill, 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 roar. Welcome everyone to watch. Fans of the narrative chapter express their wishes for praise in the latest installment. May the new chapter receive even more acclaim. Chapter 933, Xianxia arrives. As the moongazer serpent's roar echoed, the countless tentacles on its body fell off. Then the tentacles all gathered before the moongazer serpent. They intersected together and formed a huge arm. This arm was 100,000 feet long and formed a fist. From a distance it looked like the arm of an ancient god. The moongazer serpent's anger was like the finger of the ancient god. However, when the moongazer serpent's anger reached its limit, it would be like the arm of an ancient god. The moment the ancient god arm appeared, it mercilessly charged forward. Its target was the pseudo-nirvana void arrow. This punch made Wang Lin feel an illusion. He felt as if he had gone back countless years to ancient times when the ancient gods reversed the heavens. He saw an ancient god waving his arm and roaring. The planet collapsed, space collapsed, and all his enemies disintegrated. At this moment, the ancient god arm formed by the moongazer serpent was like this. The punch flew out and landed on the arrow. The arrow trembled and immediately collapsed. Even a pseudo-nirvana void treasure had to shatter under the punch of an ancient god. Esteemed Xuanbao coughed out blood and retreated without hesitation. However, just at this moment, an extremely cold energy filled the stars. At the same time, a bolt of red lightning suddenly closed in. This red lightning bolt was too fast and its timing was very good. It was exactly at the moment esteemed Xuanbao's mind trembled due to his treasure being destroyed. The red lightning bolt contained extreme coldness, and it emitted the powerful force of Ji. It flashed forward the moment esteemed Xuanbao retreated. Esteemed Xuanbao didn't have time to dodge, so the red lightning charged into his body. His expression changed greatly. He coughed out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes went out of focus for a moment. Just at this moment, Xianxia walked out wearing white. He had an indifferent expression. When he appeared, there was a flash of red from his right eye, and several more bolts of red lightning shot out toward esteemed Xuanbao. The Ji realm appeared. Ji realm! A bang came from esteemed Xuanbao's body, and then large amounts of blood spray out from his back. He quickly retreated, but the red lightning chased closely after him. The moment Xianxia appeared, his hand formed a seal and pointed up. In an instant, black wind appeared and formed 7 black dragons. They let out roars and spewed out cold air that could extinguish all life as they rushed toward esteemed Xuanbao. Xuanbao, do you still recognize this lord? Xianxia had long since arrived on the battlefield. No one beside esteemed Xuanbao was worthy enough to make him move. Xianxia, you were not dead. Esteemed Xuanbao quickly retreated, but his retreat was blocked by 7 black dragons. Under the blast of cold air, esteemed Xuanbao clenched his teeth while forming a seal and pointed ahead. The 9 black butterflies around the moongazer serpent disappeared, and when they reappeared, they were next to esteemed Xuanbao. 9 butterflies returned to 1. The 9 butterflies flapped their wings at once and glowed black. In almost an instant, they fused into 1. When the 9 rays of black light fused, an unimaginable change occurred. When the 9 butterflies fused into 1, it gave off a 4-colored light. As its wings flapped, 4-colored powder fell and formed a 4-colored vortex around esteemed Xuanbao. It immediately blocked the 7 black dragons outside. If it was a magic treasure made by your senior brother, esteemed Tianbao, I, Xianxia, would be a bit worried. However, you aren't qualified. As Xianxia's cold voice echoed, both of his hands formed a seal. As the 7 black dragons roared, hundreds of thousands, close to 1 million raindrops appeared. These raindrops were densely packed, and they blasted toward esteemed Xuanbao, who was surrounded by the powder from the 4-colored butterfly. Popping sounds echoed, and esteemed Xuanbao revealed a bitter smile. His identity was a mystery to others, but there was nothing he could hide from Xianxia. He was a celestial from the Rain celestial realm, he was also the junior brother of esteemed Qianbao, who created the god-slaying war chariot. Qing Shui, don't push me too far. The celestial realm no longer exists. This is the Alliance star system, esteemed Xuanbao shouted as his arms opened. The celestial origin he had kept sealed for countless years was suddenly opened. Endless celestial spiritual energy filled the area. It made the surrounding area feel like it was the celestial realm. At the same time, his hand formed a seal and then pointed at the four-colored butterfly. The butterfly suddenly shook, and one of its wings fell off like petal. In an instant, the wing turned into 4 different colors and formed 4 vortexes. Law of Nirvana Void. As esteemed Xuan Bao spoke, the 4 vortexes formed by the wing suddenly exploded, and tons of 4-colored powder spread. Qing Shui's call the wind and summon the rain were affected by the powder and immediately dissipated. There was no trace of any spell remaining. All of it disappeared. Esteemed Xuan Bao pointed forward without any hesitation, and the other wing on the 4-colored butterfly fell off. As the butterfly dissipated, the wing floated and another change occurred. All the spells that disappeared, including Qing Shui's call the wind and summon the rain, reappeared. However, this time they became esteemed Xuan Bao's spells. As he roared, his arms stretched out and immediately pushed call the wind and summon the rain back. One part was used to stop the moongazer serpent and the other was to attack Qing Shui. Using this moment, esteemed Xuan Bao quickly retreated. However, the red lightning chased closely after him, giving him a headache. If the pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow was still there, he could battle Qing Shui without fear. Thinking about his pseudo-Nirvana Void arrow, he felt a pain in his heart. He didn't expect this moongazer serpent to be so powerful. It was too different from the ones in the ancient records. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come here. Not only did he not succeed, he also lost his only pseudo-Nirvana Void treasure. He could imagine how his status in the elder group would fall greatly as a result. And now he had met the fiend Qing Shui from back then. Although he didn't know how Qing Shui didn't die, since he himself could survive until now, then this Qing Shui must have had some methods as well. At this moment of crisis, he had no time to think about this. The only thought in his mind was to quickly escape. When Wang Lin saw this scene, his mind trembled and his heart started beating rapidly. Bang, 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 bang. All sounds were removed from his ears except for the beating of his heart. His brain had memorized the hand seal that esteemed Xuan Bao used. He firmly remembered it. So this person is esteemed Tian Bao's junior brother, and the 4-colored butterfly was created by him, but it is not as strong as the one created by esteemed Tian Bao. If I can just figure out his seal, Wang Lin's heart beat even faster, and his eyes remained unblinking. The call the wind and summon the rain that were pushed back didn't stop Qing Shui at all. His eyes were cold as his right hand reached at the void and countless crystal specks appeared in his hand. Then, they scattered forward. Magic arsenal. Countless specks of light scattered and turned into countless shadows. Qing Shui's magic arsenal had appeared once. The countless figures gave off powerful auras, and in an instant, there were thousands of soldiers before Qing Shui. With the point of Qing Shui's finger, the shadows all charged out toward the call the wind and summoned the rain. Esteemed Xuan Bao's pupils shrank and his heart felt bitter. Some of those shadows were his old friends. He let out a sigh as a flash of ferociousness appeared in his eyes and he shouted, Qing Shui, I'll let you see what this old man has learned of the power of magic treasures. All the treasures in the world have a silver of source origin energy. This old man has studied this source origin energy for tens of thousands of years and has glimpsed the path. Esteemed Xuan Bao's arms stretched open and each hand formed a different seal. An invisible ripple immediately spread from his body. In the blink of an eye, the ripple covered tens of thousands of kilometers. The treasures around the surviving cultivators all moved on their own, and the expressions of those cultivators changed. The treasures even cut off their connections with their masters on their own. This scene caused everyone to become dumbfounded. There were also the countless treasures of cultivators that had died. All these treasures began to gather toward esteemed Xuan Bao. It was as if esteemed Xuan Bao was the owner of all magic treasures and all magic treasures had to respond to his summon. However, what really made the minds of the cultivators and Wang Lin tremble was their bags of holding. Bags of holding were also considered treasures. At this instant, everyone's bags of holding flew out. During this process, the bags opened up by themselves and the treasures inside flew out. Wang Lin's bag of holding was the same. his expression changed as his right hand reached out and grabbed his bag. However, at this moment there was a mysterious force around his bag, and the moment he touched it, he felt a burning heat enter his body. If he didn't let go, his origin soul would immediately be destroyed. Many surrounding cultivators also grabbed their bags. However, after a moment they all bitterly let go and watched their bags of holding fly away. The objects inside Wang Lin's bag of holding were too valuable, so he couldn't let go. At the moment of crisis he opened his third eye without hesitation, and the red light landed on his bag. A sliver of source origin came out and dissipated the strange force on his bag. Wang Lin's face became pale as he let out a breath of relief and he held tightly onto his bag of holding. Today marks the first watch, longing for the like button for the VIDEO. The VIDEO wants to charge up the trending charts, hoping the veteran supporters lend their firepower. Chapter 934. Chasing into the mouth of the moon-gazer serpent. Countless treasures gathered around esteemed Xuanbao and then collapsed. Every time a treasure collapsed, a sliver of white gas would fly out of it. In an instant, rich white gas surrounded esteemed Xuanbao. The moment Xianxia's magic arsenal closed in, esteemed Xuanbao opened his arms and shouted, "Magic power, Nirvana void." The moment he said those 4 words, the white gas around him charged out like crazy and collided with Xianxia's magic arsenal. Bang, 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 bang. A great shock echoed across the stars, causing the collapse to worsen. The originally 5,000-kilometer vortex suddenly tore open even more. A lot of cultivators weren't able to dodge fast enough and disappeared into the void. Once one was caught into the vortex formed by the collapse of space, it would be difficult to get out alive. No one would dare to casually enter it. At this moment space trembled violently, but it had no effect on the moongazer serpent. Its eyes were red and it hated esteemed Xuanbao to the bones for injuring it and killing countless of its smaller moongazer serpents. The ancient god arm that had charged out paused for a moment when Xianxia appeared. However, the moongazer serpent's eyes were red, and the moment esteemed Xuanbao used the spell, the arm charged forward. At the same time, a laugh echoed across the stars. It was Master Flamespark, who had shaken off Wudo Chan. His hands formed a seal and dozens of celestial fragments flew out. They covered an area thousands of kilometers wide with a vortex. Rich celestial spiritual energy spread out, causing the vortex to be filled with power as it charged toward esteemed Xuanbao. Celestial Lord Xianxia, let this old man help you. Wudo Chan's eyes lit up and he followed closely after. He was going to help esteemed Xuanbao get through this life and death crisis. Esteemed Xuanbao's scalp went numb. This battle could be the most dangerous battle of his life, aside from when the celestial realm collapsed. Before him was Xianxia, behind him was the moongazer serpent, and above him was Master Flamespark. There was no chance to dodge at all. Facing this moment of crisis, esteemed Xuanbao's powerful celestial origin surged out of his body and formed countless barriers. If I can get through this, I can still live. As the celestial origin energy surrounded him, the moongazer serpent's ancient god arm arrived. There was a bang and the layers of celestial origin barriers all disintegrated. Just at this moment, Xianxia arrived, bringing along several bolts of red lightning. There was a series of rumbles and esteemed Xuanbao immediately coughed out blood. When Master Flamespark's celestial fragments arrived, esteemed Xuanbao's body collapsed. His origin soul flew out and was on the verge of collapse, but there was a golden robe around it that constantly offset the impacts until it finally shattered. This upheaval caused the torn space to spread even more. More than 10,000 kilometers of space was now an area of destruction. Countless cultivators were caught inside. The ancient god furnace appeared around Wang Lin, and he constantly changed positions. However, his eyes were locked onto the moongazer serpent, waiting for an opportunity. At this moment, the lotus was circling the woman in the blue dress, and she was perfectly fine. The golden corpse beside her was also fine, and it had a cold expression. Looking at everything before her, she let out a sigh. She looked at Wang Lin, and a complex gaze flashed to her eyes as she muttered, "I dawn to know if Lord will recognize me, when we meet next time." The lotus had absorbed all the death aura during this battle. Now the death aura spread out, making it look like that lotus was shrouded in a mist. She raised her jade-like hand, pointed at the golden corpse before her, and softly said, "Release seal." The moment those 2 words came out, they seemed to turn corporeal, and turned into two strange seals that landed on the golden corpse. The golden corpse trembled and the 5 talismans on its head stopped rotating. The golden corpse's eyes shined and the roar of a dragon came from its mouth. Its body unexpectedly expanded and in a flash turned into a dragon. This was a real dragon. It wasn't an illusion, it had flesh and blood. The dragon's scales shined brightly, and in a flash, it rushed out with a roar. The woman in the blue dress let out a sigh and looked at Wang Lin in the distance. Then her body gradually faded until she disappeared. The golden dragon rushed out with a roar and headed straight into the battlefield. On its head, 5 yellow talismans floated there while sending out suppression. The moment it arrived, the golden dragon shined and an ancient voice echoed across the world. Poison flame. One of the 5 yellow talismans immediately emitted flames, and in the blink of an eye, the dragon was surrounded by a sea of flames. These flames were poisonous. The power of this poison was unimaginable. When it closed in, it wrapped around esteemed Xuan Bao's almost dissipated origin soul and was about to escape. However, just at this moment, a crackling sound came from the unchanging giant wood and a giant crack opened. In a flash of green light, a person walked out. He wore a green robe and looked very good. As he stepped out, he smiled and instantly closed in on the golden dragon. Then his hand formed a seal and pointed at it. An illusory giant wood suddenly appeared around it and smashed down. This old man is the 9th elder of the ancient families of Al-Heaven. How could I let you escape? The golden dragon was blocked by the illusory giant wood, but its eyes started shining. It opened its mouth and black earth came out. This black earth was filled with extremely powerful death aura. Buried earth. The green-robed old man's, Yimuzi's, right hand turned into a palm and hit the void. Countless thunderous rumbles echoed, creating a storm. He stepped forward as he waved his arm and towering pieces of wood appeared behind him. These pieces of wood were densely packed and immediately formed a dense barrier. You can escape! With a smile, Yimuzi waved his right hand. The giant wood pieces behind him flew out, causing the golden dragon to constantly retreat. At this moment, Wudo Chan approached to help, but Qing Shui let out a cold snort and red lightning bolts shot out. Master Flamespark took advantage of this opportunity. His hand moved and the vortex formed by the celestial fragments became several times bigger. In addition, the ancient god arm, formed by the Moongazer serpent, also arrived. However, the Moongazer serpent had lost its rationality. Not only did it hate esteemed Xuan Bao, it had also implicated everyone else. At the moment the ancient god arm arrived, the Moongazer serpent opened its mouth and inhaled. It inhaled so hard that even its body began to tremble. The ancient god arm swept away everything before it and directly grabbed the golden dragon. Holding the golden dragon, the ancient god arm quickly retreated and threw it into the Moongazer serpent's mouth. From the Moongazer serpent's point of view, killing this cultivator that injured, it wasn't enough to vent its anger. It was going to slowly absorb this cultivator's life force and digest it. After devouring the golden dragon, the Moongazer serpent no longer had the clarity it had before. Instead of moving forward, it headed into the vortex formed by the collapsed space. Entering the vortex meant entering the void under the collapsed space. This sudden change caused Qing Shui's eyes to light up. He was determined to obtain esteemed Xuan Bao's origin soul to learn of the upheaval that occurred in the celestial realm. After seeing the golden dragon and esteemed Xuan Bao being devoured by the Moongazer serpent, he used the suction force from the Moongazer serpent without hesitation and charged toward its big mouth. Qing Shui wasn't the only one. Wudo Chang was someone from the Xuan Palace, and he had a good relationship with esteemed Xuan Bao. He clenched his teeth and also charged into the Moongazer serpent's mouth. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had been waiting for this opportunity. Without hesitation, thunder surged out from his body, and borrowing the speed of thunder, he charged at the Moongazer serpent. Master Flamespark hesitated for a bit, while Old Man Yimuzi's eyes lit up. He seemed to have something in mind as he entered the Moongazer serpent's mouth. At this moment, the Moongazer serpent's giant body had mostly entered the crack, and its mouth had already closed. It was about to disappear from this space. Wang Lin closed in on the Moongazer serpent and landed on its huge body. He stomped his feet and was about to enter the Moongazer serpent. Master Flamespark naturally saw Wang Lin. He let out a sigh and no longer wasted time. He reached at the void and a fist-sized celestial fragment appeared in his hand, and he threw it at Wang Lin. You have made a great contribution. This item should keep you safe. With this, I can also find your location and save you and Xianxia. He gave up entering. After all, he still had to preside over the war between Al-Heaven and the Alliance. As for why Wang Lin had gone to enter the Moongazer Serpent, Master Flamespark didn't understand. He could only imagine Wang Lin wanted to save Xianxia. Perhaps this child has other thoughts. When Wang Lin caught the celestial fragment that shrank, he immediately felt the aura of a thunder beast. Aside from the powerful primary soul sealed inside, there was also the thunder beast. Thank you, Senior. Right as Wang Lin spoke, his body disappeared and he entered the Moongazer Serpent. At this instant, the Moongazer Serpent completely sank into the vortex. However, its body was too large, so it expanded the vortex a lot and caused an even wider collapse. As space collapsed in a rumble, Master Flamespark let out a sigh and turned around to look for the scattered Al-Heaven cultivators. 1. So this word can mean concubine or eye or servant in a self-deprecating way for women. I just thought I'd explain it so people can get the meaning behind it. The word used is which is used a lot on palace settings, so I am so glad I am not translating something set in the Imperial Palace because all those specific position-related words would drive me nuts. For now, just the first watch today. Leo will rest tonight and start catching up on the missed chapters tomorrow. Chapter 935, The Wrong Thunder Beast. After this battle, the battlefield in the northern region had been almost completely torn apart. The surrounding tens of thousands of kilometers became a forbidden zone. The vortex at the center rotated rapidly. Large amounts of dust was sucked toward it and disappeared within. There was no victory or defeat in this battle. For both Al-Heaven and Alliance, it was both sides probing each other. Only the price of this probing was extremely high. The deaths of tens of thousands of cultivators caused both sides to pause for a moment. It was as if both sides were making the perfect preparations for the next battle. On the Al-Heaven side, large amounts of cultivators retreated and gathered between the western and northern regions to recover. The Alliance was completely quiet, but the news of this battle spread across the Alliance. On this day, a person appeared next to the vortex. He had white hair and wore a yellow robe. If Wang Lin was here, he would recognize him as Wang Long. Wang Long calmly floated in the void and looked at the vortex below him. The powerful suction force collapsed when it got near him. Although this probing battle looks like a draw, in reality, the Alliance lost. Wang Long pondered as he looked at the battlefield. He could imagine the intensity of the war that occurred. The Cultivation Alliance has always been arrogant, and this war occurred due to the matter with Master Flamespark back then. Interesting. I didn't expect that when I accidentally helped Master Flamespark back then, it would give my 4 divine sect such an opportunity. Wang Long's eyes lit up after he carefully looked at the battlefield and then walked toward the void. I must discuss this matter with the other 3. My 4 divine sect has been waiting for this day for a very long time. I just don't know if the rank 9 cultivation planet behind the Cultivation Alliance will intervene after all. They only recognized the Cultivation Alliance. Wang Long gradually disappeared as he pondered. I presume the Corpse sect is also pondering this matter. The arrival of Al-Heaven has broken the battle in the Alliance. There is also that Wang Lin. That child is very good, and letting him participate in the battle will make him a vanguard for my 4 divine sect. With Master Flamespark's cultivation, he should be able to see my mark. It can be considered a hint of my 4 divine sect's attitude toward Al-Heaven. Wang Long smiled as he disappeared among the stars. This battle isn't big enough. Let it become more intense and consume more of the Cultivation Alliance's forces. My 4 divine sect had been enduring for too long, and it is time for the strength we have been saving up to erupt. There was another universe inside the vortex. This was a boundless world of darkness. There was no light or sound. There wasn't even a sliver of spiritual or origin energy. Life was almost extinct here. This was the void under the shattered space. No one knew why it existed. If space was layers of endless silk, then this was the darkness under the silk. There once were powerful cultivators that wanted to find the root of this void. However, over the countless years, no one could figure out the secret of the void. A cultivator's body would endlessly weaken as if there was an invisible force that constantly sealed and limited a cultivator, making it difficult to survive. Also, because this place was isolated from the world's origin energy, even if a cultivator's own origin energy was self-contained, there will be a day when it's exhausted. Also, under the weakening and sealing effect, the amount they could use was too little. It was as if this place was an area forbidden to cultivators. In the Alliance, only people whose status and cultivation had reached a certain level would know that a long time ago, before the celestial realms collapsed. A heaven-shaking event once occurred here that almost caused the celestial realm to shatter. No one knew if this void had an end. Even peak nirvana shatterer cultivators couldn't T-probe here for too long. After all, no matter how much origin energy they had, there would still be a day when it would be used up. It was as if this void was a natural origin energy isolation formation. It was a completely sealed space that prevented cultivators from shattering it to explore deeper. However, was this really a natural origin energy isolation formation? No one knew the answer to this. However, there was a speculation hidden inside a few people's hearts. They were afraid to touch it due to the fear of the unimaginable disaster it would cause, which was that this land of void was not natural but man-made. At this moment, even the moongazer serpent's huge body seemed insignificant. After it entered, it curled up and condensed all its power in an effort to absorb all foreign objects in its body. The moongazer serpent drifted in this endless darkness without any direction. It was as if the mysterious force here had no impact on the moongazer serpent. Wang Lin was inside the moongazer serpent's body. He was still holding the celestial fragment Master Flamespark gave him. His divine sense swept past it, and he left his own imprint. At the same time, a roar came from the fragment and a bolt of thunder shot out. The thunder scattered before Wang Lin. As the thunder arched in all directions, the silver-horned thunder beast appeared. There was a chain around its neck and a lot of talismans were hanging on its body. It looked a bit messy. Even the silver horn had a small hole pierced through it through some unknown method, and an iron hoop was put through it. Aside from the primary soul sealed within the celestial fragment Master Flamespark gave Wang Lin, there was also the Thunder Beast. When the Thunder Beast saw Wang Lin, its eyes became misty and all the injustice it had suffered over the years erupted. It had been many years since Wang Lin had seen the Thunder Beast, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Thunder Beast's appearance was simply too strange. He took a few steps closer to the Thunder Beast and looked at the iron hoop on the silver horn. He couldn't help but touch the hoop with his hand. This caused the injustice in the Thunder Beast to become even stronger, and it let out a low roar. Wang Lin wryly smiled and softly said, "These last several years have been hard for you." He saw the Thunder Beast continue to growl as if it wanted to tell all the misery it had suffered. Wang Lin rubbed his nose and patted the Thunder Beast's head as he said, "Actually, you look very good." This was originally meant to comfort it, but the moment he said it, the Thunder Beast no longer growled and suddenly turned its neck, causing the chain around its neck to jingle. The random paper talismans on its body also shook as it looked at Wang Lin with doubt in its eyes. It was obvious it was uncertain about Wang Lin's words. It had heard the same thing from Master Flamespark too many times. Every time Master Flamespark saw it, he would say similar words. Wang Lin wryly smiled. He really didn't know how to comfort the Thunder Beast. He was very sympathetic to the Thunder Beast in his heart, especially after seeing its appearance. Wang Lin imagined all the suffering the Thunder Beast had experienced in all these years. However, the strength of the Thunder Beast shocked Wang Lin. It was obviously a lot stronger than before. Now, with the Thunder Beast staring at him, Wang Lin could only nod to indicate that what he said was true. After seeing that the Thunder Beast was still filled with doubt, Wang Lin let out a sigh and touched his bag of holding. The celestial sword flew out and he flicked it, causing Shu Liguo to fly out. Without Wang Lin sending out an order, Shu Liguo already knew of the situation from the connection he had with Wang Lin. After he appeared, he couldn't help but fiddle with the iron hoop on the Thunder Beast's horn. He couldn't hold it in and laughed out loud. The Thunder Beast immediately let out an angry roar and thunder covered its body. This was especially true for its silver horn, where thunder instantly gathered and shot out at Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo was so scared, he let out a scream and quickly retreated. However, the thunder was too fast, so a trace of it landed on him. Shu Liguo shivered and quickly said, "Don't be impulsive. I just liked the iron hoop so much that I couldn't help but touch it." Wang Lin's divine sense spread out to observe the surroundings, and he completely ignored Shu Liguo and the Thunder Beast. The reason Wang Lin let Shu Liguo out was to comfort the Thunder Beast, because Wang Lin really didn't know what to do with this matter. It was unknown how Shu Liguo and the Thunder Beast communicated together, but after a few words, the Thunder Beast's expression became better, and the suspicion in its eyes gradually faded. Not long after, there was actually pride in its eyes, and it let out a roar and happily communicated with Shu Liguo. In the end, it allowed Shu Liguo to sit on its back and didn't even care if Shu Liguo fiddled with the iron hoop. It shook its body as if it was extremely satisfied with its appearance. After Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense and saw this, he couldn't help but admire Shu Liguo. When Wang Lin found the black blade in the Suzaku tomb, Wang Lin noticed that Shu Liguo had this talent. He didn't know how Shu Liguo had persuaded the blade, but it was inseparable from Shu Liguo for a long time. At this moment, Shu Liguo was touching the iron hoop and thinking in his heart, "It's still your grandpa Shu who is better." I was instantly able to beat down this fiend. While feeling complacent, Shu Liguo pulled the iron hoop with a bit too much force, causing the Thunder Beast to roar in anger. Shu Liguo quickly gently patted the Thunder Beast and said some more things. The Thunder Beast's eyes beamed as it shook its own head and looked at itself. The previous arrogance and indifference had completely vanished. Not paying attention, this chapter quickly racks up 5,000 words. Does that qualify as a major chapter? Could it be wishing for the like button for the video? Chapter 936, Fishing for Advantages. Looking at all of this, Wang Lin could only let out a sigh. He still remembered the Thunder Beast's unyielding gaze and arrogant roars that shook the world. However, looking at the Thunder Beast now, there was no trace of its former self. If not for the fact that he could feel that this Thunder Beast was formed by the war chariot, Wang Lin would have thought this was the wrong Thunder Beast. Feeling regrettable, Wang Lin waved his right hand, and the Thunder Beast turned back into a ray of light that returned to his bag. As for Shu Liguo, he immediately retreated, and his face was filled with flattery as he said, "Master, it has been a long time since little Shu has come out, so please don't make me go back. I see that there are no dangers here, so how about you let me have some free time?" Wang Lin looked at Shu Liguo and calmly said, "This place is far more dangerous than you think, so go back inside." With that, Wang Lin waved his hand. Shu Liguo was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. However, he was already cursing in his heart. On the surface, though, Shu Liguo didn't dare to reveal any of the anger, and he was put back into the bag by Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body flickered as he moved through the Moongazer Serpent. His divine sense surrounded his body and he moved with extreme caution. However, he never stopped moving and almost left afterimages behind. Wang Lin was very familiar with the Moongazer Serpent, so he could head to where he wanted to without thinking. If it was in the past, Wang Lin wouldn't move like this. After all, there was a large number of smaller Moongazer Serpents inside back then. However, those smaller Moongazer Serpents had all died. As a result, the danger within the Moongazer Serpent had lessened greatly. As he moved forward, Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. After he entered the Moongazer Serpent, he noticed that there was something wrong from the moment the Moongazer Serpent went through the vortex. Although there wasn't much origin energy here before, he could at least feel some. However, right now he couldn't detect any at all. This made his heart sink. If that was the only issue, he wouldn't care too much. But not only could he not feel any origin energy, even the origin energy inside his body was slowly disappearing. This discovery shocked him greatly. He quickly checked himself and found out that it wasn't disappearing, but being suppressed by an invisible force. This suppression was like a seal, and although it was slow, if he stayed here long enough, it would completely seal all his origin energy. This has nothing to do with the Moongazer Serpent. It has to do with where the Moongazer Serpent is. If the inside of the Moongazer Serpent is like this, then I fear that my origin energy would disappear even faster outside. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as his right hand formed a fist and he threw a punch. A moment later, his eyes shined brightly. The power of the ancient god body isn't affected. Thanks to this, I might be able to hold some advantages here. While pondering, Wang Lin charged straight ahead. This seal is similar to the talismans from the Forsaken Immortal clan. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he carefully controlled the origin energy in his body. A while later, he arrived near where the bone was. After taking a look, Wang Lin's expression became serious. The moongazer serpent S-bone originally emitted a large amount of spiritual energy. However, all of it was gone now. It looks like the seal doesn't only suppress origin energy, but also spiritual energy. Anything that can be absorbed by cultivators will be sealed. However, I have the body of an ancient god, so it doesn't really matter to me. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with coldness as he followed along the bone of the moongazer serpent. Since this place has this much effect on cultivators, it will have similar effect on the others. So the longer we stay here, the bigger the advantage I hold. Wang Lin stuck to the bone and headed straight to where he found the child ancient god. As he moved, a loud rumble and violent tremble came from ahead. As soon as the trembling came, Wang Lin felt his footing become unstable, as if the moongazer serpent was moving. Wang Lin moved forward while sticking to the wall of flesh. The sound became louder, and there were occasionally shock waves from spells, which made Wang Lin stop. His expression was a bit hesitant, and a moment later he went into the flesh wall on the side. He moved like a fish, and made a big circle, before slowly moving forward again. His divine sense was spread out, and he carefully observed his surrounding. A moment later, Wang Lin's divine sense narrowed and stopped extending into the flesh wall. Instead, he closely observed the outside of the flesh wall. After taking a look, Wang Lin retreated without hesitation until he was near the moongazer serpent S-bone again. His eyes lit up as he thought to himself, I'm no match for any of the people that entered, but I also have my advantages. The more origin energy they consume, the bigger my advantage. The place that Wang Lin saw with this divine sense was an open area about 1,000 feet wide. Although that area was filled with moongazer serpents, they were all retreating. And there are 2 people there. Wudo Chen's face was pale and his purple robe was in tatters. He was in a sorry state. However, he stood there giving off a powerful aura like an unsheathed sword and wouldn't allow anyone to get close. Behind him was an opening in the flesh wall. It was the entrance to where the child ancient god was located. On the opposite of Wudo Chan was the green-robed Yimuzi. Although his face was also slightly pale, his eyes were calm. Fluctuations of spells filled the area between them. Apparently, there was a brief but fierce fight. Although Wang Lin's divine sense was only inside that room for an instant, it was not able to escape the 2 of them. However, neither Wudo Chan nor Yimuzi cared about Wang Lin. Little kid, we have limited origin energy here. This old man's target isn't that dogshit celestial. So why are you here blocking me instead of helping Xuan Bao fight against Qing Shui? Isn't what you were doing just extremely absurd? Yimuzi said to Wudo Chan. Wudo Chan didn't respond, he just coldly stared at Yimuzi. He raised his hand, and a 5-colored bubble floated above his palm. His gaze fell on the bubble, and he calmly said, I don't care about how esteemed Xuan Bao is doing, but as long as I am here, no one can enter. The green-robed Yimuzi had a gloomy expression and let out a cold snort as he stepped out. His right hand formed a seal and a giant log appeared before him. This giant log took up all the space here and smashed forward. I can waste too much origin energy here, so I must finish this battle quickly. Then I'll go deep into the moongazer serpent and complete the task the head elder gave. The giant log before the green-robed old man charged out. At this moment, Wudo Chan waved his hand and the 5-colored bubble flew out and collided with the giant log. At this instant, the bubble exploded with a bang. The giant log that appeared trembled and disintegrated along with the bubble. A flash of coldness appeared in Yimuzi's eyes. He waved his right sleeve and a finger-sized piece of green log flew out. The moment it flew out, Yimuzi shouted, 1 log, 1 realm. After he spoke, the green log suddenly trembled and instantly grew. Then a green gas suddenly spread across the area. When the green gas filled the area, it was as if this area was isolated from the rest of the world, like the gas had formed its own realm. It created a seal that surrounded Wudo Chan. Taking this opportunity, Yimuzi moved in a flash and bypassed Wudo Chan. He charged into the hole and disappeared. Wudo Chan was surrounded by the green gas, but only 3 breaths after Yimuzi left, explosions came from inside the gas. Wudo Chan was creating bubbles and blowing them up. The explosion of each bubble caused some of the green gas to dissipate. After 3 breaths of time, all the green gas had dissipated. He looked at the hole Yimuzi went into and revealed a smile. With 1 step, he charged into the hole. Wang Lin stood near the moongazer serpent S-bone and decided to sit down. He slapped his bag of holding and a sword flew out. Wang Lin's hands formed a seal, and he split a portion of his divine sense into the sword. He pointed with this finger and the sword flew straight ahead. Wang Lin's divine sense surrounded the sword and it continued to slowly move forward. It flew into the hole without hesitation and continued to push forward. Right now my divine sense is inside the sword, so if it's destroyed, it won't matter. Also, which of these people can collapse a star with a stomp of their feet? Aside from senior brother Qing Shui, I am merely an ant in their eyes. However, they don't know that my ancient god power isn't affected here. Let them fight it out first, and once they don't have much origin energy left, I, who was an ant in their eyes, might be able to fish some advantages. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he controlled the flying sword and began to ponder. The flying sword slowly flew into the hole. Bursts of spell fluctuations came from ahead and made it difficult for Wang Lin to control the flying sword due to his cultivation level. Fortunately, the suppression force existed, and it allowed him to just barely control it to fly forward. Shortly after, the sword with Wang Lin's divine sense exited the hole. What appeared before him was a large vortex that slowly rotated and gave out an endless suction force. Wang Lin knew that the child ancient god was inside the vortex. Now that there were no traces of Qing Shui, Yi Muzi, and the others, Wang Lin pondered for a bit. Then he controlled the flying sword to charge directly into the vortex without any hesitation. Here comes another 4,000 words in a major chapter. Leo doesn't make empty promises. Could it now be time to wish for the like button for the video? Chapter 937, Earth Prison. While controlling the flying sword, a thought flashed through Wang Lin's head. I need to find a way to make these old monsters to consume their origin energy faster. Also, to leave a way out for myself. Without hesitation, he slapped his bag of holding and more than 10 flying swords flew out. He obtained all of them from the war earlier. His hands formed a seal, and he constantly compressed origin energy into them. If any of the flying swords exploded, they would cause a good amount of damage. A flash of coldness appeared in Wang Lin's eyes as he waved his hand, and the flying swords all spread out. They flew like lightning toward all the Moongazer Serpent's sensitive spots that Wang Lin knew. This way, I can cause some changes inside the Moongazer Serpent's body. This was something only Wang Lin could do. If it was anyone else, they simply wouldn't know enough about the Moongazer Serpent, much less know the sensitive spot of the Moongazer Serpent to prepare a backup. As for the sword with Wang Lin's divine sense, when it got close to the vortex, a surge of origin energy suddenly jumped out from inside the vortex. Wang Lin's expression changed, and his divine sense left the flying sword without hesitation in an attempt to avoid it. However, this surge was too strong. It was like a flood that immediately affected the flying sword. The tip of the sword collapsed, inch by inch, extending to the hilt. However, Wang Lin's divine sense reacted even faster. It left the collapsing sword and dodged. Although this was the case, his divine sense was still touched by this origin energy, so a large chunk of it dissipated. Wang Lin's face turned red, and he sat down near the Moongazer Serpent's bone. It took a while for him to recover. What a strong origin energy surge. If it wasn't for the fact it came back out through the vortex, none of my divine sense would remained. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He knew that the origin energy that surged out was mere fallout. More importantly, the vortex had a powerful suction force, which was part of the Moongazer Serpent's own spells. If the force inside wanted to come out, it would be hindered multiple times by the vortex. Even if any origin energy did break out, it would have been weakened considerably. Slapping his bag of holding, Wang Lin took out another sword, and his divine sense surrounded it. The flying sword turned into a ray of light and flew ahead. A moment later, he arrived next to the vortex once more. The flying sword paused for a moment, and after determining there was no more origin energy fluctuations, it flew into the vortex. Thanks to the powerful suction force, it took Wang Lin almost no effort to go inside. Not long after, the flying sword appeared in the tunnel Wang Lin was familiar with. The moment he entered, a shockwave powerful enough to make Wang Lin lose his wits swept through this narrow passage as if it wanted to destroy everything. Many of the tentacles in the tunnel collapsed under this storm, and a lot of the corpses turned to dust and dissipated. The sword with Wang Lin's divine sense entered like a thorn and stayed close to the flesh wall. The moment one of the tentacles collapsed, creating an opening in the flesh wall, the sword immediately entered. Only by doing this was he able to barely avoid the shockwave that stormed by. There were two figures crossing each other as paths, and there were various flashes of spells. It was Qing Shui and the Golden Dragon fighting each other. It was unknown what had happened before. Esteemed Xuan Bao's origin soul was no longer with the Golden Dragon. Instead, it was surrounded by 10 tentacles, with its eyes closed and looking extremely weak. A large amount of celestial origin energy was being absorbed by the tentacles. The tentacles were very active, moving and wiggling around a lot more than usual. Anyone who saw this would be shocked. Even farther away, there were large amounts of bubbles around Yumuzi. Wudo Chan had caught up to him, and they were tangled in a battle. However, after seeing all of this, Wang Lin frowned. This tunnel was only half the length it was before, and he could see the end with a glance. The passage to the child ancient god was completely sealed. Wang Lin remained quiet as he hid himself and carefully watched the battle. As the gold dragon roared, it circled around esteemed Xuan Bao. The 5 yellow talismans circled closely around the dragoness head. Qing Shui stood before it with an indifferent expression. His eyes flashed red, and the red light turned into bolts of red lightning. The red lightning shot toward the golden dragon. As the golden dragon roared, the scales on its body flashed. An ancient aura came out from its roar that said, "Ruin metal." The moment he spoke, the golden dragon trembled and hundreds of scales flew off its body and gathered. In the blink of an eye, a golden scale sword appeared. This sword gave off waves of powerful pressure and the aura of a real dragon. It rushed out toward Qing Shui. Qing Shui's eyes were still cold, and the red lightning bolt from before became as thick as an arm and shot toward the golden scale sword. In an instant, the red lightning and the golden scale sword collided. A heaven-shaking explosion echoed through the Moongazer serpent, and a storm swept through the narrow tunnel. At this moment, this narrow tunnel was widened by force. Gaps appeared on the flesh wall and green blood dripped out. The golden dragon let out a miserable roar and was forced to retreat under this impact. But it coiled around esteemed Xuan Bao like a python and still protected him. As a result, its body began to break due to the impact and golden blood sprayed out. Qing Shui also retreated. Just at this moment, muffled roars came from inside the Moongazer serpent's body. This roar came from the Moongazer serpent itself. As it roared, the tunnel began to shake violently and a giant crack appeared above the tunnel. Large amounts of green blood flowed out, and an endless evil aura came through. The roar became even more intense, and it looked as if something wanted to charge out from that crack. Qing Shui's eyes lit up. He stopped his retreat and charged forward. As his long hair flowed in the wind, his hands formed a seal and he shouted, "Slaughter Realm!" The moment he spoke, his hair scattered on its own. An array of red light appeared under his feet and began to spread. The Slaughter Realm was a spell Qing Shui made himself. The red light under his feet was dazzling, and when it shined on the golden dragon, it almost made dragon look like it was a different color. As Qing Shui closed in, countless soul fragments came out from the red light. There were too many soul fragments. This was the extreme display of Qing Shui's slaughter. The golden dragon roared at Qing Shui. The 5 talismans above its head rotated rapidly and a roar came out of its mouth. Ruined metal, punishment wood, tribute water, poison fire, buried earth. 5 elemental reversal. The moment the golden dragon roared, the 5 talismans around its head stopped rotating. They fell one by one and imprinted on its head like brands. An extremely powerful aura exploded from the golden dragon. Then it looked at the rapidly approaching Qing Shui and opened its mouth to spit out 5 rays of light. As the 5 elements reversed, the 5 rays of light turned into irresolute metal, punishment wood, flow tribute water, vanishing poison fire, and celestial burying earth. When the 5 elements reversed, it seemed like the area became isolated and became its own world. Even Yimuzi and Wudo Chan, who were battling in the distance, retreated and looked over. Coldness flashed through Qing Shui's eyes. The slaughter realm under his feet moved as he raised his hand and pressed down. He softly said, "Earth prison!" Celestial Emperor Bai Fan's 6 spells were Qing Shui's fundamentals. However, he was extremely talented and had created his own celestial spells. They were all based on his slaughter realm, to open another universe and turn the earth into a prison. Everywhere it passed would become a prison for the heart. No matter how shocking your spell was, you couldn't escape the word prison. The moment Qing Shui pointed, a powerful force of law appeared. This was the prison law. In an instant, with Qing Shui as the center, everything was covered by an invisible sealing force. Even the reversing 5 elements were trapped. Qing Shui moved like lightning and arrived next to the golden dragon. His hand reached out and grabbed the origin soul of esteemed Xuan Bao that was wrapped within the golden dragon. With a shake of his hand, the countless tentacles around esteemed Xuan Bao shattered and large amounts of green blood splattered everywhere. Esteemed Xuan Bao's closed eyes suddenly opened and became filled with fear. However, no matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't escape Qing Shui's iron claw-like hand. Holding esteemed Xuan Bao, Qing Shui was about to leave when an evil aura suddenly came out from the crack above. It took the shape of a blood-red arm and directly smashed into Qing Shui's body. On top of the dense, evil aura, it also contained the aura of the moongazer serpent. This arm was too fast, and it contained the power to break all spells. It instantly landed on Qing Shui's body and caused him to tremble. Even with Qing Shui's cultivation, he couldn't withstand it and was knocked back, coughing out a large mouthful of blood. At the same time, the arm grabbed esteemed Xuan Bao's origin soul and pulled it back. It was about to go back inside the crack. At this instant, Qing Shui's still, indifferent eyes suddenly filled with madness. Esteemed Xuan Bao was his only clue about what happened to the celestial realm. However, now that it was taken by someone else, this made Qing Shui go crazy. It has to be said that not even Bai Fan would dare to anger Qing Shui. Instead, he accepted Qing Shui as his disciple and made Qing Shui owe him. Not even the mysterious person that Master Flamespark respected so much wanted to provoke Qing Shui. However, Qing Shui's anger exploded when esteemed Xuan Bao was taken. At 36, Leo is still getting wisdom teeth, in pain for many days, with swollen jaws, frustrated, and they're not even breaking through yet. Counting them, there are 3 or 4 wisdom teeth not yet emerged. Chapter 93, Corpse Yin Sect. 2. The strange man's face suddenly changed. He removed the 9 talismans from his body, then jumped up to where Wang Lin was. He ripped apart the red sphere without any hesitation and grabbed Wang Lin. Wang Lin woke up the moment those two arrived. He noticed the panic in the strange man's face and allowed himself to be dragged down from the statue. The moment the two landed, the strange man made a seal and put his hand on the statue. A black portal appeared, and the strange man dragged Wang Lin into it. At the same time, the 8 pillars of light disappeared, and the statue started to slowly sink back into the ground. At that moment, the young man's body solidified. His body looked like a mummy's, and his expression was cold. The zombie emitting an awful stench was standing next to him. The young man stared at the slowly sinking statue. He spread out his divine sense over the whole area, then his gaze returned to the statue. As for Wang Lin, the moment he was dragged into the statue by the strange person, he spread out his divine sense and revealed a surprised expression. The space inside the statue wasn't very large. There were white crystals floating around, and there was a black stone person sitting in the center. The stone person's appearance was exactly the same as the statue's outside. There were slivers of purple lines connecting the stone person to the statue. Soon, a light curtain appeared in the space. The light fluctuated a bit and displayed the scene from outside. Through the light curtain, Wang Lin could see what was going on outside. He then looked at the strange person and immediately noticed the great amount of hatred in his eyes. The young man stood outside the statue. He stared at the statue and slowly said, "Master, 100 years passed by so quickly. This time, you won't be able to run away." Wang Lin sucked in a breath. He turned around and stared at the strange man. He asked, "You are his master?" The strange man blankly stared at Wang Lin. Just at that moment, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he spat out a green light. The green light flashed across the space and mercilessly lunged toward the stone person sitting in the air. A ray of purple light appeared to block the sword, but the sword teleported past the purple light and stabbed the stone person. A violent roar echoed throughout the space as a ball of light escaped from the stone person. Wang Lin waved his hand, and the sword turned around and shot toward the ball of light. The strange man finally reacted, and his eyes were filled with anxiousness. He stared at Wang Lin with anger hidden in his eyes as he pointed at the sword and shouted a few times. Wang Lin was stunned. Just at that moment, a very hoarse voice came out from the ball of light. "Little friend, please don't be impulsive. I don't mean any harm. I am the master of the person outside." At the same time, countless rays of light gathered from all directions at the ball of light. Slowly, the ball of light turned into a small person 1 foot tall. This little person looked very weak. His face was pale and he looked like a kid. The little person kept dodging the green sword while looking at Wang Lin with an ashen face. The strange person let out an angry roar and was about to block the flying sword. Wang Lin backed up a few steps the moment the little person spoke. He waved his hand, and the flying sword returned to his side. The flying sword circled around Wang Lin with the tip pointing at the little person. The strange person walked up to the little man. He shouted angrily at Wang Lin a few times, his eyes filled with disappointment. The little person bitterly laughed. His body floated up and landed on the shoulder of the strange person. He said, "Adai, don't be rude to our guests." The strange person's expression suddenly eased, but he still cautiously looked at Wang Lin. The little person sighed. He looked at Wang Lin and warmly said, "Little friend, please don't be rash. I." Before he could finish speaking, the man outside said a strange word. The moment the strange word came out, the whole statue shook and stopped descending. The little person's expression slightly changed. His hand formed a seal as he spat out purple gas. The moment the purple gas appeared, it entered the statue. The statue's eyes shined a purple light and continued to descend. The young man let out a cold snort. He grabbed at the air and the statue shook again. It started to sink slower. At the same time, he sent out many seals, causing the statue to tremble, but the statue still stood. The small person inside the statue let out a relieved look, but he looked even more tired. He said to Wang Lin, "This statue can last half an hour under the attack of AMU, more than enough time for me to tell you the story behind all of this." Wang Lin didn't say a word as he stared at the little person. The little person sighed and said, "My name is Wu Yu. Has little friend ever heard of the corpse sect?" Wang Lin's expression remained normal with the small sword next to him as he shook his head. Wu Yu bitterly smiled and said, "Little friend doesn't need to be alert. I am only a nascent soul without a body. Coupled with countless uses of nascent energy throughout the years, I am no threat to you. It is your sword that almost killed me." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. After pondering a little, he asked, "Who is that person outside? Are you his master?" Wu Yu's eyes revealed a helpless expression. He answered, "He is my corpse puppet." Alas, I was one of ancestors of the corpse sect. The corpse sect had a rule stating that every disciple that joins must find a corpse to make their own corpse puppet. As our own cultivation level increased, the corpse puppet would grow as well. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed as he asked, "Your corpse puppet rebelled?" Wu Yu wryly smiled. He nodded and said, "That is right. Originally, with the technique used, the corpse puppet could never rebel. Unfortunately, I came to this place 300 years ago, hoping to use the yin energy here to break past early-stage nascent soul. Not only did I fail, but my corpse puppet took the opportunity to seriously injure me. During the shock of the injury, he was able to escape from my control. At that moment, the statue started to tremble even harder. The little person revealed an anxious look and quickly continued, "I had to retreat to heal my injuries. So I didn't chase after it. 100 years later, when my injuries got better, I found my corpse puppet." However, he had managed to gain his own consciousness and even had a lucky encounter, causing him to enter mid-stage nascent soul before me. I didn't stand a chance, so I gave up my body and escaped with my nascent soul. My nascent soul took heavy injuries and has been hiding inside this statue ever since. I am too afraid to go out. That zombie was my body from back then. It seems to have gained its own consciousness in these 100 years in this place. Wang Lin coldly smiled and said, "What a bunch of nonsense. If that corpse puppet is really as you say, why didn't he leave instead of continuing to look for you?" Wu Yu wryly smiled. He hesitated for a bit and said, "Forget it. Little friend, you don't know, but this is related to the corpse sect's secrets. Although this corpse puppet is out of my control, I have still refined it for hundreds of years. It is connected to my soul, so if it goes more than 100 kilometers away from me, it will die. The only way to fix this problem is to swallow my nascent soul and seal it within him. Only by doing that would he truly escape my control." Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he said, "He never found you in these few hundred years." Wu Yu touched the inner side of the statue and said, "When I was running away, I accidentally entered this statue. This statue can hide my presence. Only with the help of the statue did I survive. Also, after the corpse puppet reached mid-stage nascent soul, every time it came out, it would need to rest after a while. Every rest takes about 100 years. That is another reason why I haven't been eaten yet." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he slowly asked, "Oh, then why haven't you escaped during the 100 years he was sleeping? I have tried to escape countless times, but this jungle is surrounded by a vast fog. This fog is very harmful to the nascent soul. I can withstand touching it even a little. The corpse puppet can find me, but I didn't expect my body to gain its own consciousness. With the connection between me and my body, it was able to find me. Also, Adai did things on his own and made the statue appear for you, which attracted them. Alas, this is my own fault. I can blame anyone else." Wu Yu wryly smiled and continued, "Little friend, Adai has already told me about what happened between you and him. If it was 300 years ago, I would have tried to possess your body, but I have already wasted my chance on trying to possess Adai. Now, I want to have another chance until I reach mid-stage nascent soul." Wang Lin didn't believe a word of what this little person said, but his expression remained normal. He looked at the strange person and asked, "His name is Adai?" Wu Yu nodded and said, "Little friend, I found Adai in this statue. When I entered here, I found Adai sleeping and tried to take possession of this body. However, his body contains a very strange power. After using the majority of my nascent energy on his body, I was finally able to escape. Although I failed in possessing him, this allowed Adai to wake up and caused him to have the feeling that our lives are connected. From then on, I knew that there would probably be no chance for me to escape until Adai told me about you." With that, a flash of excitement entered Wu Yu's eyes. Wang Lin didn't speak, but quietly stared at the little person, waiting for the rest. Wu Yu revealed a pleading expression and said, "I beg little friend here to please help me. Leo has caught a cold, his nose running like a leaky faucet, making it unlikely he'll make it home tomorrow. Trying hard to ensure a new update, but lacking the energy, longing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 938, Ancient God Puppet Spell. Slaughter! Qing Shui let out a roar and he rushed out surrounded by red light. The G realm revolved around him, and although his hands made no seal, spells appeared round him. A thin line appeared before him. It was like a line of blood, and after it appeared, it seemed like it could tear space. As Qing Shui charged out, the line also shot out toward the retreating arm. Boom! An earth-shattering sound echoed when Qing Shui closed in on the arm and attacked like crazy. Endless rumbles echoed, and every time the red line attacked, the arm would tremble. When Wang Lin saw this, he gasped. His body, which was sitting next to the moongazer serpent S-bone, suddenly got up and charged ahead. Although I, Wang Lin, was no gentleman as I traveled the world, I owe Qing Shui. Now that he is anxious and crazy, I can sit back and ignore this. Qing Shui seemed to have gone mad and was attacking unceasingly. This scene made the golden dragon's pupils shrink. Even Yimuzi gasped. He finally understood why the head elder of the family had told him to not casually provoke Qing Shui. Wudo Chan's expression also changed as he looked at Qing Shui. In particular, the red line before Qing Shui made his mind tremble. As for Qing Shui, his right eye suddenly exploded into a pile of flesh and blood. All of his G realm charged out and landed on the arm. The arm trembled, and at this moment it loosened its grip on esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul. The golden dragon that had been observing this battle charged out, and its eyes lit up. His large body went toward esteemed Xuanbao and his dragon tail whipped toward Qing Shui. There was also the arm with the aura of the moongazer serpent. It opened its hand, and this time it reached toward Qing Shui. Qing Shui's right eye was a bloody mess, and his left eye was completely red with a hint of madness. His right hand formed a seal and he pointed with his finger. In an instant, black wind raged by and 8 roaring black dragons appeared around him. The power of his 8 black dragons was only second to Baifan's Call the Wind, which could summon 9 black dragons. The power of 8 dragons was several times more powerful than 7 dragons. As the 8 Call the Wind dragons roared, they charged directly at esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul. They didn't destroy it, but swept by, causing esteemed Xuanbao's origin to almost collapse. As the 8 dragons circled the origin soul, they constantly sealed it, causing esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul to enter a coma. Then they sent the origin soul toward the vortex at the entrance. Right when esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul was blown toward the entrance, Wang Lin's body entered the vortex. He immediately grabbed esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul and rapidly retreated. In a flash, he rushed back out the vortex. All of this happened so smoothly that there was no hesitation at all. Xianxia's spell and Wang Lin's appearance were perfectly timed together. Before leaving, Wang Lin saw a trace of trust inside the madness in Xianxia's left eye. "Senior brother Xianxia, I'll do my best," Wang Lin drilled out from the vortex. After throwing esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul into his bag, he turned around and opened his third eye without hesitation. The red light fanned out and locked onto the vortex, causing that sliver of source origin energy to come out again. The golden dragon let out a roar and immediately changed directions. It was so fast that it arrived next to the vortex in an instant and went inside it. The moment it entered, the golden light collided with the red light from the third eye. It was startled as there was a trace of power inside the red light that was even able to shock itself. However, the red light was too weak to be of a threat to it, though the feeling in the depths of its heart was very obvious. His large body involuntarily paused. The moment Wang Lin saw the giant dragon's head, he was shaken. Being so close, the pressure made him gasp. The other party also paused for a moment, and Wang Lin immediately drilled into the nearby flesh wall. He moved very quickly and not downward but instead up. While he escaped, Wang Lin's hands formed a seal, and he felt the backups he had planted. His face had gloomy yet ruthless expression. The golden dragon's giant body was far faster than Wang Lin. In its view, Wang Lin was just an ant, and such an ant had dared to actually steal esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul before it. This was inciting the wrath of heaven. He wouldn't even need to waste the energy to blow away dust to kill this ant. As it chased, it let out a roar. Roar! This roar contained origin energy that was simply too fast, and it charged ahead, causing the surrounding flesh walls to tremble. Wang Lin's body trembled, and he coughed out blood, but he didn't stop. Instead, he borrowed this force to move even faster. "Explode!" Wang Lin shouted. While he moved forward, his origin soul was shaken. If not for his ancient god body, he would have exploded and died. Even now, he felt the intense pain. However, he had no fear. As he shouted, the flying swords he had hidden at the Moongazer Serpent's sensitive spots suddenly exploded. There were several extremely sensitive spots in the Moongazer Serpent. Although these explosions couldn't seriously injure it, once those places were damaged, it would bring unimaginable pain to the Moongazer Serpent. The intense pain would cause the Moongazer Serpent's anger to reach its peak. However, it was almost impossible for people to find these places in the giant Moongazer Serpent. Even if they accidentally hit them, it wouldn't affect the Moongazer Serpent too much. But it was different for Wang Lin. Right now, all of the Moongazer Serpent's sensitive spots were hit by the exploding flying swords at once. This kind of pain wasn't any weaker than when it was injured before. The Moongazer Serpent's large body was aimlessly wandering through the void, but at this moment its body trembled violently. Then a maddening roar came from inside its body. There was a heaven-shaking change happening inside the Moongazer Serpent's body. The Moongazer Serpent's movement caused a powerful pressure to spread. It shook so violently that it felt like the world had turned upside down. Roar! The Moongazer Serpent let out another angry roar. This time it extended its body and opened its mouth. It moved even faster, as if it wanted to spit out everything that was inside it. There was a powerful force pushing out from its mouth. At this instant, Wang Lin, who was escaping, was about to be caught by the golden dragon when a force surrounded his body. He didn't stop at all and was pushed up at an extremely fast speed. The flesh wall above him opened, creating a direct passage to the Moongazer Serpent's mouth. Not only Wang Lin, the golden dragon was the same. It lost control of its body and was directly pushed by a force. Similarly, in the vortex, Xianxia was fighting with the arm when his body was involuntarily pushed upward. Yimuzi and Wudo Chan couldn't escape either. They were affected by the impact and pushed out through the crack. The Moongazer Serpent continued to roar in the darkness. Endless force pushed out from inside the Moongazer Serpent. There was a flash of gold, and the golden dragon's body was the first to be spat out. Shortly after, it was Wang Lin. After that, Xianxia, Yimuzi, and Wudo Chan were all spat out into the void. The moment Wang Lin was spat out, he sealed his own origin energy and celestial origin energy on his own, in hopes of delaying their suppression. However, it had no effect. He felt his origin energy rapidly disappear, and layers of restriction landed on his body. The celestial origin energy in his body suffered the same fate. Only the ancient god's strength in his ancient god body wasn't affected at all. Wang Lin's expression remained neutral as he quickly retreated. He wasn't the only one whose origin energy was being rapidly suppressed. The golden dragon, Yimuzi, and everyone else suffered the same fate. However, these people were very aware about this strange place. Yimuzi had 3 pieces of purple wood surrounding him, and his face was pale. Although he couldn't stop the dissipation completely, he could slow it down. An invisible light flashed around the golden dragon, allowing it to barely resist the sealing force, but it was obviously inferior to Yimuzi's method. Wudo Chan was the most relaxed. He had a huge bubble around him that seemed to isolate his surroundings. However, that bubble was constantly dissipating, and it required him to constantly use origin energy to replenish it. As for Xianxia, he simply waved his hand and used Earth Prison to forcibly block the sealing force, but he couldn't maintain it for long. By contrast, the most relaxed one was Wang Lin. He completely ignored the origin energy inside his body as he clenched his fist, stared at the golden dragon, and revealed a sneer. However, he didn't move. He continued retreating and thought, right now is not the best chance, let us wait a bit more. Just as everyone was thrown out, the roar of the Moongazer Serpent echoed once more. Then a vortex appeared between its eyes and a figure came out. This person was unexpectedly Xianxia. However, Xianxia's eyes were dim, and they would occasionally show a flash of struggle. A moment later, he let out a roar and flew out from the vortex between the Moongazer Serpent's eyes. Wang Lin's pupils shrank, but then immediately shined brightly. His heart began pounding faster and faster. With his ancient god body, he immediately detected the aura of an ancient god from Xianxia's body. From his view, this Xianxia was formed by a star of an ancient god. Or to be more accurate, he was fused with the star of an ancient god to become an existence that wasn't a celestial cultivator or ancient god. Ancient god puppet spell. Wang Lin immediately recalled something from 2C's memory, a spell that only an adult ancient god could use. Xianxia's body contains a star of an ancient god. By absorbing him, I can obtain a portion of the ancient god's strength inheritance. An ancient god puppet fused with 1 star was no different from a 1-star ancient god in strength, and Xianxia's star came from an 8-star ancient god. Leo has a cold, with a sore throat and a bit of dizziness, not daring to promise if there will be a 3rd watch today, doing his utmost to get through. Chapter. Xianxia let out a roar and flickered, creating a sonic boom. He was fast beyond imagination. Not even teleportation can reach this speed. As the explosion echoed, his body had already arrived next to the golden dragon. He then threw a punch, causing the golden dragon to tremble and cough out blood. The golden dragon's large body was mercilessly knocked back. The moment the golden dragon was knocked back, Xianxia suddenly disappeared and the bubble around Wudo Chan exploded. Wudo Chan's chest sank in and a hole appeared in it as if it was crushed by a fist. He coughed out blood and his ribs were broken. Shock filled his eyes as he was knocked back. This wasn't the end. The moment the golden dragon and Wudo Chan were knocked away, the 3 purple logs around Yimuzi rotated rapidly. Roaring sounds came from them and they formed an almost airtight defense. However, Xianxia was too fast, and was able to find a gap between the three rotating purple logs. His fist pierced through and landed on Yi Muzi. Blood came out from the corner of Yi Muzi's mouth, and he retreated. Large amounts of ripples appeared before Qing Shuai's body, and his left eye shined brightly. An impact came toward him, causing him to retreat, and the more he retreated, the more intense the ripples before him became. A moment later, the ripples suddenly intensified, and with a bang, Qing Shui's face turned pale. Then he retreated even faster. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was so fast that not the eye or divine sense could capture Xianxia's unimaginable speed. Due to the sealing power of the void, the origin energy in their bodies was suppressed. Along with Xianxia's wave of attacks, their cultivation immediately fell. Wang Lin wasn't able to see Xianxia's shadow. He just felt a gust of wind come at him. Then an extremely powerful force charged straight at him. However, Wang Lin was not alarmed at all. The moment the power closed in, Wang Lin's body turned, and he threw a punch into the void with his left hand, based on the mysterious feeling he had from his ancient god body. Bang! After a heaven-shattering boom, Wang Lin was forced back. His face turned pale and blood came out from the corner of his mouth. However, before him, Xianxian was forced out from the void for the first time. Xianxian was forced back 2 steps, and he looked at Wang Lin with a mysterious light in his eyes. As Wang Lin retreated, he quickly shouted, "He has no origin energy inside his body, so he is not limited by the seal here. He is good at physical attacks. Senior's origin energy was all dissipated, so if you all don't work together to kill him, it will become dangerous. Junior, shut up." The golden dragon's body moved, and the 5 talismans around it gave off a strange glow. The aura of the 5 elements filled its body, and instead of charging toward Xianxian, he charged toward Wang Lin. The 5-element aura rotated, and as the golden dragon roared, it turned into 5 rays that shot at Wang Lin. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He knew he couldn't escape the golden dragon's spell, so he simply stopped before the 5-element aura and took out Xuanbao's origin soul without hesitation. He was about to crush it. "If you take one more step, don't blame me for destroying this origin soul." The 5-element aura suddenly paused, and the golden dragon's eyes filled anger. If it wasn't for the fact that its origin energy was dissipating too fast, and that it had been injured by Xianxian, he would not be threatened like this. However, right now he could only be angry. In the distance, Xianxian revealed a strange smile and suddenly disappeared. Yimuzi's expression changed, and he quickly retreated, but his speed was too slow. Popping sounds echoed around his body like crazy, as if he was being hit by a powerful impact. All his spells at this moment were too slow. Before he could even use them, they had already collapsed. What made Yimuzi even more oppressed was that when he used a spell, a majority of its strength would be weakened by the void. It was impossible to display the spell's full power, or else he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. The origin energy in his body continued to dissipate, and it was dissipating faster and faster. His cultivation had already dropped from peak to late-stage nirvana cleanser. An instant later, Yimuzi no longer cared about the loss of origin energy. He opened his arms and shouted, "One wood, one realm!" One of the 3 purple logs immediately collapsed into specks of light, forming its own realm. I immediately sealed the surrounding kilometer area. However, Xianxian was even faster. As the 50-kilometer area was being sealed, he took a step back and disappeared. "Enough. Let us kill this Xianxian puppet first, before dealing with anything else." Wudo Chan's expression was gloomy, as his cultivation level had also fallen a lot. While letting out a roar, he took a step out, and a large amount of bubbles appeared. Under his control, a bubble shot straight toward Yimuzi. "Void annihilation." Wudo Chan's hands formed a seal and pointed forward. The bubble turned from 1 to 2, then 2 to 4, until they surrounded the area. Just at this moment, one of the bubbles suddenly collapsed. Wudo Chan's eyes lit up. His divine sense spread out, and all the surrounding bubbles gathered. "Explode!" As the explosion echoed, Yimuzi waved his sleeves with a gloomy expression. A 1,000-foot-long log immediately appeared and flew toward where he waved. A powerful impact spread in all directions. At the same time, the golden dragon groaned and was knocked back again. Xianxian reappeared close to the golden dragon without any injuries. He then continued to bombard the golden dragon. As the golden dragon retreated, it let out a roar. He coiled up and opened his mouth to devour Xianxia. However, the moment he opened his mouth, all of his teeth were shattered. Xianxia laughed like crazy and retreated. Then his eyes lit up and he said something in a language that no one here but Wang Lin could understand. Today, none of you can leave. While retreating, Xianxia's body disappeared. Wang Lin was calm, and at the moment Xianxia disappeared, his right hand formed a fist and he punched to his side. With a bang, Wang Lin's body was knocked back, but Xianxia was also forced to reveal himself. Qing Shui immediately closed in, and his right hand formed a seal and black wind appeared. The black wind turned into 8 roaring black dragons that charged toward Xianxia. Xianxia revealed a strange smile. When the black dragons arrived, he had already disappeared. However, just as he was about to disappear, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light. The ancient god furnace appeared around Wang Lin, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. When Wang Lin reappeared, it was right where Xianxia was retreating to. After he reappeared, the ancient god furnace hadn't disappeared yet, and Wang Lin threw a punch. Xianxia immediately turned around and threw a punch that collided with Wang Lin's fist. With a bang, Wang Lin coughed out blood and was forced back. At the same time, Xianxia was also pushed back. At this moment, Qing Shui's hand formed a seal and large amounts of raindrops appeared and closed in. Xianxia sneered and used his speed to disappear once more. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes and he shouted, "Senior brother, help me with celestial origin energy." At the same time, he pointed and shouted, "Stop!" With one word, all of Wang Lin's remaining origin energy and celestial origin energy began to move. They went through his right hand and into the void. Qing Shui didn't hesitate. He waved his right hand and sent half of his remaining celestial origin energy into Wang Lin's body. The celestial origin energy that entered Wang Lin's body was extremely powerful, and it came out through his right hand. The stop spell was used in a crazed manner for the first time by Wang Lin. This stop spell was beyond anything that was used before. With one word, stop, Xianxia's body stopped in the void. In the distance, Yi Muzi quickly moved forward. The seal here prevented teleportation, but his speed was not slow. Before he closed in, his hands formed a seal. Without hesitation, the illusory log before him rapidly rotated and shrank until it turned into a wooden sword. This wooden sword moved like lightning and pierced through Xianxia's head. Popping sounds were created as the entire sword pierced through Xianxia's body. Then the wooden sword suddenly exploded into countless pieces filled with power and collapsed inside his body. At the same time, Wudo Chan waved his hand and spat out a mouthful of origin energy that turned into a large amount of bubbles. This was done the moment Wang Lin stopped Xianxia. He closed in and the bubbles surrounded Xianxia before exploding. There was also that golden dragon. Currently, his hatred for Xianxia was extremely strong. While letting out a roar, the 5 elements fused together and unexpectedly formed an illusory crown. This crown instantly closed in on Xianxia and mercilessly crushed down on his head. The 3 old monsters all attacked at the same time. Xianxia roared and wanted to struggle, but it was too late. There was a loud bang when the wooden sword, bubbles, and the crown landed at the same time. Then Xianxia's body suddenly collapsed. Large quantities of flesh and blood scattered. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a trace of greed that rarely appeared in his 1,000 years of cultivation. The ancient god furnace appeared around him and he instantly closed in on Xianxia's collapsed body. In a flash, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of ancient god blood. He then opened his mouth and inhaled like crazy. Inheritance of power! A fist-sized star from Xianxia's collapsed body gave off a gentle glow. It emitted the power of the ancient god. Leo goes to the hospital with his wife, then directly to pick up his daughter from school, continuing the storytelling upon return. Chapter 944 Star Royal Ancient God. As Wang Lin inhaled, the purple star trembled and charged toward him. Just as it was about to be devoured by Wang Lin, the moon-gazer serpent let out a roar. Then an extremely powerful ancient god aura exploded from the moon-gazer serpent. At the same time, Yi Muzi and Wudo Chan revealed a strange light in their eyes, and the 2 of them charged at the purple star. However, they both had used a lot of origin energy in the last battle, so their cultivation levels had dropped directly to Nirvana Scryer. The two of them quickly charged at the purple star from two different angles. There was a hint of madness inside Wang Lin's eyes. As the two closed in, popping sounds came from his body and he grew one-fold and directly swallowed the star. The moment he devoured the star, Wang Lin felt an unimaginable power explode from his body. After the power exploded in his body, he retreated like crazy. An aura moved both inside and outside of his body, and he was filled with a powerful feeling. He felt like everything before him would be destroyed if he just threw a punch. He let out a laugh, and his body suddenly went through a change as he retreated. Popping sounds came from his body and he suddenly became a giant hundreds of feet tall. An extremely powerful aura suddenly filled the void. The hidden ancient god star between Wang Lin's eyebrows condensed, and the previous 3.5 stars immediately became 4 stars. These were 4 real stars. A 4-star ancient god from the royal bloodline with inheritance from 2C. This was different from an ordinary 4-star ancient god. The popping sounds inside Wang Lin's body became even more intense, and he directly grew until he was about 1,000 feet tall. A powerful aura spread out like crazy. The pupils of both Yimuzi and Wudo Chan shrank as they stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin clenched his fist and let out a laugh. The feeling of controlling the world filled him with confidence. At this moment, he suddenly turned around, and his giant body moved past Yimuzi and Wudo Chan. He charged directly toward the golden dragon who was staring at all of this dumbfoundedly. The golden dragon had been injured many times and had used many spells. In addition, a large amount of his origin energy had been sealed, so the amount of power he could display had dropped directly to early-stage Nirvana Scryer. Looking at Wang Lin's 1,000-foot-tall body coming at him, the golden dragon quickly shrank back into a dragon-robed person. He then retreated while his hands formed a seal, causing the 5 talismans around his head to rapidly rotate, and he shouted, "Poison fire!" After he spoke, one of the talismans above his head began burning. A green flame containing powerful poison shot toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was different. Right now he was no longer a cultivator, but an ancient god who had obtained the inheritance of power and the inheritance of knowledge. A 4-star royal ancient god. Although Wang Lin's avatar's power was completely sealed, and he could only use the power of his ancient god body, a 4-star ancient god was powerful enough to kill this golden dragon. The poison fire contained poison that was deadly to cultivators, but was really insignificant to an ancient god. When Wang Lin closed in, his giant fist smashed down. Boom! A sonic boom occurred and the punch created a gust of wind. The moment the green fire arrived, it was extinguished. Large amounts of green smoke appeared and was pushed back at the dragon-robed man. The dragon-robed middle-aged man's expression changed greatly, and his hands formed a seal and he shouted, "Tribute water, ruined metal, punishment wood, buried earth." As he roared, the 5 talismans above his head all shined and moved without any wind. Then a blue sea suddenly appeared and smashed toward Wang Lin. This sea was the tribute water, and it brought the power of an army, arriving with a roar. However, it wasn't able to stop Wang Lin's 4-star ancient god punch. The instant the sea arrived, it collapsed into countless drops of water and was pushed back. This sea indeed did have the power of an army, but Wang Lin's punch was several times more powerful, so now could the sea not collapse. The moment the tribute water disintegrated, there was a flash of gold as the sword formed by the dragon's scales shot out toward Wang Lin. His fist landed, and with a bang, the dragon's scale sword trembled. It began cracking at the tip, as if there was a force peeling away all the dragon scales. After the dragon scale sword, a black log followed immediately after. This huge log gave off the scent of blood and had countless souls of celestials in it. As the mournful cries echoed, countless ripples attacked Wang Lin. After the punishment wood, large amounts of black soil formed a black storm that charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was still indifferent, and his right fist landed on the punishment wood. The log was split in half and wasn't able to stop his fist in the slightest. The black storm formed by the black soil suddenly collapsed the moment the log was split in half. Nothing could stop the punch from Wang Lin's 4-star royal ancient god body. After shattering all 5 elements, this punch landed directly on the dragon-robed man. There was a heaven-shaking explosion as the dragon-robed man coughed out blood and was knocked back. All of this happened in a short period of time. From the view of Yi Muzi and company, Wang Lin's giant body had taken a step, thrown a punch, and the dragon-robed man was knocked backward. Popping sounds came from inside the dragon-robed man, and a large amount of blood spray out from his body. If they were outside and his cultivation wasn't sealed, it would have been very difficult for Wang Lin to injure him. However, here, Wang Lin held all the advantages. This man in the dragon robe had most of his cultivation sealed, so he had to retreat. Wang Lin's eyes were indifferent as he moved forward and kicked with his right foot. The face of the man in the dragon robe was ashen. Unwillingness filled his eyes as his hand formed a seal and he shouted, "Power of the 5 elements!" After he spoke, the 5 talismans over his head rotated rapidly, and the aura of the 5 elements appeared and formed an illusory crown. Then the power of the 5 elements shot out at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his hands reached out. Although his body had grown, his bag of holding was still with him. While it is really small compared to his body, he could still open it. After he reached toward it, a crown appeared in Wang Lin's hand. The moment crown appeared, the dragon-robed man's expression changed greatly. Disbelief filled his eyes as he exclaimed, "The dragon's in S5-element crown! How could you possibly have this? It even has a soul!" The dragon-robed man was flustered as he gave up on his spell and retreated. At the same time, he took out a wooden token and directly crushed it. The wooden token turned into smoke and seemed to open a passage in this void. He was about to enter the passage. Just as he was about to flee, the crown in Wang Lin's hand flew out. As it rotated, it gave off 5-colored light. Then a rose appeared, and as it bloomed, the shadow of a woman appeared. The woman was filled with arrogance and was an absolute beauty. After she appeared, she pointed her jade-like hand at the dragon-robed man. With this point of her finger, the dragon-robed man let out a miserable roar and could no longer escape. It was as if he was being pulled, and he turned into a ray of light and was absorbed by the crown. The beautiful woman turned around and carefully looked at Wang Lin. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but no sound came out, and she eventually disappeared. This scene didn't only shock Yi Muzi and company, it even shocked Wang Lin. He quickly retrieved the crown and coldly stared at Yi Muzi and Wudo Chan. These two people now posed no threat to Wang Lin. Their cultivation had already been seriously sealed and would continue to be sealed. Then Wang Lin's gaze turned to the moon-gazer serpent that gave off the aura of an ancient god. Then he opened his mouth and let out a roar. The roar from his 1,000-foot body was no weaker than the moon-gazer serpent's, as it was the sound of an ancient god. When he let out the roar, it was heaven shaking. Even this void didn't seem to be able to stop the roar of an ancient god. Endless thunderous rumbles formed and countless sonic booms spread out. There was only one meaning contained within this roar in the language of the ancient gods, and that was challenge. Every child ancient god had to challenge another ancient god as a passage to adulthood. Wang Lin, who held the inheritance of knowledge of 2C, knew this very well. For the ancient god clan, in order to go from 3 stars to 4 stars, one required the aura of an adult ancient god. Otherwise, it would be impossible to advance. This was something that couldn't be changed. Once an ancient god obtained 4 stars, they would have the qualification for adulthood. And this was the qualification to challenge. His roar was to tell the ancient god inside the moongazer serpent that he wanted to challenge him. The moment Wang Lin's roar came out, a roar came out from inside the moongazer serpent. The moongazer serpent opened its mouth and countless tentacles came out. There was a person entangled within the tentacles. This person was the same size as a normal cultivator, but with 5 blurred stars rotating on his forehead. He was entangled by tentacles as he stared at Wang Lin. "My clan member, I accept your challenge for your passage to adulthood." The moment the 5-star ancient god spoke, the tentacles around it all loosened one by one. He then moved forward and walked 3 steps. After the first step, his body grew until he was 300 feet tall, and a powerful aura surged out. Then, after the second step, he directly became a 1,000-foot giant, and an ancient aura surrounded the area. When he took the third step, he became 3,000 feet tall and was like a god. Leo steps out without his laptop charger. The computer has no power, so he reads the chapters using his phone, typing manually. Tears are flowing. Chapter 941, Treasure of the Royal Clan. Yi Muzi was shocked when he saw all of this. He never would have thought that this Shu Mu had been hiding such a shocking secret. This person was actually an ancient god. When he was sent here by the head elder of the family, he gained details about the moongazer serpent and prepared himself thoroughly. Although he was shocked, he didn't forget his task. After watching the 5-star ancient god walk out of the moongazer serpent's mouth, he didn't hesitate to charge inside. He charged directly toward the moongazer serpent's mouth. Although his cultivation had fallen greatly, his speed was not slow at all. In a flash, he disappeared into the moongazer serpent's mouth. Wudo Chan's expression was a bit complex. He had looked through some records in the Alliance and accidentally found out the identity of the moongazer serpent. So he knew there was something inside the moongazer serpent called the moonflower. The records said that the moongazer serpent's moonflower can be used to refine a pseudo-nirvana void treasure. If I can obtain it and refine a pseudo-nirvana void treasure, then I can replace esteemed Xuan Bao in the elder group. He clenched his teeth and chased after Yimuzi. Just as the moongazer serpent closed its mouth, he entered. Only Qing Shui didn't enter the moongazer serpent's mouth. He frowned as he silently watched Wang Lin and the huge 5-star ancient god. Clan member, my name is Lu Chen. The 5-star ancient god's eyes were filled with an ancient aura as he stepped forward. He didn't form a fist but hit with his palm. There was a heaven-shaking sound and a giant handprint formed from Lu Chen's hand and shot straight toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. This handprint was similar to the one in the celestial realm one, but also very different. It shot directly toward Wang Lin, and Lu Chen's hand followed directly after the handprint. Wang Lin took a deep breath. The 4 stars on his head rotated, his right hand pointed up, and the ancient god's language came out from his mouth. Since he was now a 4-star ancient god, he could use some of the ancient god's spells. Wang Lin had waited a very long time for this day. In an instant, a giant vortex appeared before him. Ancient god's weapon. As Wang Lin roared, bursts of purple lightning came out of the vortex and then a long spear flew out. This spear was illusory, and it seemed like it was formed by the purple lightning. Wang Lin grabbed the spear and swept forward. It collided with the incoming handprint. A loud rumble was triggered when they collided, and the handprint was cut in half. However, Wang Lin's spear was immediately grabbed by Lu Chen. With a squeeze, thunder came out from the spear, and then the spear collapsed. Wang Lin took a step out. Although his body was weak compared to Lu Chen's, he still gave off an imposing aura. His right hand formed a fist, and he threw it out. Lu Chen looked at Wang Lin with a complex gaze. He had been forced to consume a star to refine Xianxia into a puppet. Although he had left the moongazer serpent's body, there were unspeakable difficulties. Even now, he didn't know if he was the moongazer serpent or an ancient god. He had assimilated with this moongazer serpent for far too long. His mind was invaded by the moongazer serpent. In his view, he wasn't worthy of being called an ancient god. He was merely the puppet of the moongazer serpent. He had always struggled between whether he should pass the inheritance to Wang Lin or devour Wang Lin. While he was struggling when he voluntarily gave out a star to Xianxia, perhaps in his heart, he meant to gift that star to Wang Lin. At this moment, he took a deep breath, his right hand formed a fist, and he threw a punch. There was a bang, and Wang Lin felt his right arm go numb, and he was forced back. Lu Chen was also forced back several steps, and the stars between his eyebrows became even more blurred. The reason Wang Lin had challenged Lu Chen was because he knew that even though Luo Chen wasn't and child ancient god, he was extremely weak right now. The stars between Lu Chen's brows being blurry proved his point. As opposed to Wang Lin, who only had 4 stars, the stars were solid and shined brightly. More importantly, Wang Lin was of the royal bloodline. Even if an ordinary ancient god had devoured Lu Chen's star and their cultivation level became higher than Wang Lin's, they would still be no match for the royal clan's spells. The royal clan of the ancient gods were real kings. Not only could they use royal clan spells, they also had royal clan weapons. As he retreated, Wang Lin took a step forward and charged out at Lu Chen. The two continued to exchange bombardments of fists with each other. Ripples echoed and loud rumbles spread across the void. At the start of the battle, Wang Lin was at a disadvantage, but the more he fought, the fiercer he became. Wang Lin gradually grew familiar with the power of a 4-star ancient god as he fought. Oftentimes, a powerful storm would be set off with each punch. The punches also contained the spells of the ancient gods, so his battle with Lu Chen became even more intense. With a bang, the two parted. As Wang Lin retreated, he raised his large hands and his eyes lit up. He began chanting in the language of the ancient gods, and then the shadow of a towering ancient god appeared before him. It immediately let out a roar toward Lu Chen. The complex gaze in Lu Chen's face became even more intense, and he also raised his hands. The shadow of an ancient god appeared behind him, and it was taller than 100,000 feet. It was as if a real giant had just appeared out of nowhere. However, this giant's body was extremely bloated. It looked more like a moongazer serpent than an ancient god. What was even more terrifying was that there was armor around this giant, and just its imposing aura was enough to make ordinary cultivators lose their wits. As the armored giant roared, Wang Lin and Lu Chen closed in on each other once more, causing explosions to echo once more. This time it wasn't just the two of them fighting. Even the giants behind them began to fight. As Wang Lin laughed, his left hand reached out and recalled that weapon he saw Tuo Sen use in the ancient god's body. Ancient god Tuo's life treasure. The god-slaying spear. As he thought about the spear, the language of the ancient gods came out from his mouth. Although he wasn't able to call out the true body of Tuo's life treasure with his 4-star power, he could call out an illusion. As Wang Lin reached out, large amounts of red mist appeared out of nowhere. This red mist churned and gathered in Wang Lin's hand. Then a 1,000-foot-long spear suddenly appeared. This spear was 1,000 feet long and 10 feet wide, and it flashed red. It was the very famous god-slaying spear of the ancient god clan. Even the void began to twist around it, and as the spear gently swept by, a net-like object appeared. The net-like object in the void was formed by the powerful formation that cut off origin energy. Normally, it was impossible for it to appear, but under the swing of the god-slaying spear, it was forced to show its original form. The god-slaying spear was something only the royal clan could use. When a royal clan, ancient god, reached adulthood, they would choose a weapon. These weapons were passed down from previous generations, but only the royal clan could use them. When Lu Chen saw the god-slaying spear, the complex gaze in his eyes became even stronger. He could tell that Wang Lin's ancient god inheritance was extremely noble. He speculated that this person was a junior that had received the royal inheritance and cultivated as an ancient god on his own. However, after he truly saw the god-slaying spear, he was not only able to confirm his speculation, he also knew where Wang Lin's inheritance came from. I didn't think even he had died. Lu Chen let out a sigh. The complex emotions in his eyes disappeared, and it was replaced with a gentle gaze. Tuo's inheritor, let me see how much of this illusory god-slaying spear's power you can use. It was as if the knot in Lu Chen's heart had been loosened. While laughing, his right hand reached out, and the bone in his right arm began to move. Bone spikes suddenly came out from his skin, and in an instant, Lu Chen's right arm was covered in bone spikes. They extended like crazy, and in the blink of an eye, they were 1,000 feet long. They formed an extremely strange yet ferocious weapon. Wang Lin gripped the illusory god-slaying spear, and battling intent filled his body. As he held the spear, the feeling that he was Tuo appeared once more. Right now, Lu Chen was the only person in his vision. I am ancient god Wang Lin. Wang Lin stepped out, and the god-slaying spear swept forward. He heard popping sounds, and then a large net appeared before him. This net was illusory, and it covered the entire void. Lu Chen laughed and also closed in. The stinger formed by his right arm swung forward and directly matched Wang Lin's god-slaying spear. There was a bang when the two of them collided. Then popping sounds echoed as the two continued to fight. Their violent battle caused a net-like object to appear. Battle intent filled Wang Lin's eyes, and during the battle, he threw the god-slaying spear. Then both of his hands met before him with his thumb and forefinger linked, forming a diamond. He shouted, "God-slaying seal!" This god-slaying seal was one of the spells of the ancient gods, and it was something only the royal bloodline had. The god-slaying spear flew out like lightning toward Lu Chen. At the same time, the god-slaying seal shot out in a diamond shape and flashed forward. Lu Chen laughed and shouted, "Good." He waved his right hand and collided with the god-slaying spear, creating an amazing shockwave. Then the god-slaying seal arrived, and an unimaginable storm was set off in the void. This storm swept across this void as a large amount of the net revealed itself. As the net flashed, two ghostly lights suddenly appeared under it. The ghostly lights revealed a cold and ruthless gaze. It was as if it was looking through the net from the outside. Moongazer, Serpent, Ancient God. 1. Handprint on the door back when he first entered the Rain's celestial realm. Leo's speech is often puzzling. What with all the wishing for likes on the video and sharing Leo's work, leading the audience to erupt in laughter, the comments section filled with a lively atmosphere. Chapter 942, Heaven-Defying Bead Trembles. The moment that cold and ghostly light appeared, Xianxia's originally calm expression changed drastically. He stared at where the ghostly light appeared, and his eyes shined. However, that ghostly light immediately disappeared as if it never existed. Whether it was the ghostly light's appearance or disappearance, Xianxia actually didn't see anything. However, just at that instant, there was a terrifying feeling that made all the hair on his body stood up. He had never had this feeling, even when he met his teacher by a fan. However, subconsciously, he felt as if he had felt this before. This contradicting feeling made it so Xianxia couldn't find the reason. His expression was gloomy and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. He remained vigilant and stared ahead while searching his memories for the answer to this contradicting feeling. As Lu Chen laughed, he suddenly retreated from the god-slaying seal. Large amounts of the bone spikes on his arms had collapsed, but he was excited. He looked at Wang Lin with admiration. After the bombardment, Wang Lin also retreated. The god-slaying spear in his hand was almost transparent now. Although he looked normal, he was greatly shocked. Earlier, Wang Lin clearly felt the heaven-defying bead that had been fused with his origin soul and been dormant for a long time unexpectedly trembled for a moment. This was an extremely rare occurrence. When the heaven-defying bead trembled, a sliver of mysterious power came out from the bead and went into Wang Lin's body. This caused his eyes to shine blue for that instant. Borrowing the moment of retreat, Wang Lin's gaze swept his surroundings. At this moment, it was as if hundreds of thousands of bolts of thunder had exploded in his mind. He saw the ghostly light under the net that not even Xianxia could see. When the ruthlessness from the ghostly light landed in Wang Lin's eyes, it was as if he had devoured a piece of never-melting ice. His entire body was cold inside and out. The two ghostly lights seemed to notice Wang Lin's gaze. They revealed a trace of shock and gradually disappeared. "What the hell is this?" As Wang Lin retreated, his mind shook. When he saw Xianxia's gaze, he knew Xianxia must have noticed it too. At this moment, Lu Chen laughed and closed in once more. He raised his right hand and mercilessly gripped. The 5 stars on his forehead rotated. In the blink of an eye, the 5 stars flew off his forehead and embedded onto Lu Chen's fist. When his fist arrived, the 5 stars appeared on his fist. They rotated rapidly until they formed a vortex. As Lu Chen's fist closed in, the vortex formed a storm. It looks like Lu Chen didn't notice the abnormality. He is a 5-star ancient god. Yet he unexpectedly didn't notice. Instead, it was Xianxia who did. Wang Lin felt a lot of dread toward the two ghostly lights under the net. At this moment, Lu Chen's right fist swept by. Wang Lin's hand immediately swung forward, and the power of a 4-star ancient god surged out. Wang Lin borrowed his power to change directions and moved far away from the net. I noticed it because of the mysterious power from the heaven-defying bead. Xianxia must have his own secret for being able to detect it. But just what exactly is hidden inside the void? Popping sounds echoed as Wang Lin and Lu Chen exchanged moves. Their collisions turned into endless rumbles that echoed across the void. As Lu Chen's fist continued to bombard Wang Lin, the stars on his hand produced a suction force that actually pulled Wang Lin in. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the 4-star between his eyebrows spun rapidly. They merged into his right hand as he met Lu Chen's incoming fist. If the battle of two ancient gods was placed in normal space, it would immediately cause the space to collapse. However, they weren't affected here. As the rumbles continued, Wang Lin retreated and escaped the suction force from Lu Chen's fist. Lu Chen took a step and instantly closed in on Wang Lin while waving his fist. Countless fierce bone spikes appeared from his body. They were filled with the power of an ancient god and shot toward Wang Lin like arrows. Wang Lin's right hand shook the god-slaying spear and swept it forward. Without any hesitation, the language of the ancient gods came from his mouth. Origin ancient god, borrowing the power of the ancestors. The moment he spoke, a large vortex appeared before him and absorbed all the bone spikes. The moment the vortex appeared, an earth-shattering roar echoed. For the first time, excitement appeared in Lu Chen's eyes. He smiled and said, "The origin ancient god spell that borrows power from the ancestors that only the royal clan can use. I, Lu Chen, haven't seen it in a long time." As he spoke, he stopped in the void and his hands formed a ring. An illusory ancient god star appeared above his forehead. Shortly after, one star after another appeared. When Lu Chen moved his hand, the 5 stars emitted a gentle light and began to rotate. Then something flew out from the ring. "Ancient god beast spirit," Lu Chen shouted. Then the thing that flew out flashed and turned into a giant elephant. This elephant was completely black, and its long fur looked extremely ferocious. Its 2 long tusks gave off a white glow, and its rough trunk was like a powerful arm. The elephant lifted its body as it let out a roar and mercilessly stomped down. This created violent rumbles, and a savage flame came out from this giant elephant's body like crazy. Not only did the ancient god clan members have bodies that could destroy worlds, they also had incomparable magic spells. This beast spirit was one of the powerful spells of the ancient gods. Only 5-star ancient gods could use it, and it had to be refined for a long time before they could use it. Almost every adult ancient god had this spell. The first thing every ancient god did when they reached adulthood was find their own beast spirit to refine. Tusi also had a beast spirit. Back in the land of the ancient god, the beast that prevented Tuo Sen from obtaining the inheritance of knowledge was Tusi's beast spirit. At this moment, Lu Chen used the spirit beast spell, and the giant elephant charged forward. The vortex before Wang Lin suddenly changed. As the giant elephant closed in, a giant fist came out from the vortex. This fist had blue skin. When the fist came out, it collided with the giant elephant. Boom! An unimaginable sound spread across the void, creating a storm that could cause the world to collapse. The giant elephant let out a roar, and its large body was pushed back. One of its 2 tusks broke in half and dissipated into dust. Lu Chen also retreated, and the admiration in his eyes became even stronger. Wang Lin coughed out a mouthful of blood and quickly retreated. He avoided the impact from the ripple and the net. Lu Chen looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, "You are qualified to become an ancient god." The moment he spoke, the moongazer serpent in the distance revealed a demonic glow in its eyes. It then let out a roar. This roar caused Lu Chen's body to tremble, and struggle filled his eyes. Large amounts of veins bulged and his expression became ferocious. Looking at the moongazer serpent, he roared, "Damn animal, don't interfere with me anymore." The moongazer serpent's eyes became cold, and its roar became even more intense. There was a will inside that roar that made Lu Chen tremble and reveal a painful expression. However, just at this moment, a shocking change suddenly occurred. A large portion of the net appeared in the space where the moongazer serpent was, and those 2 ghostly lights appeared once more. Xianxia had been watching all of this closely. At this moment, his eyes lit up, and he stared at the net near the moongazer serpent. His face turned extremely gloomy. Wang Lin also saw this, and his pupils shrank. As for Lu Chen, he also noticed that something was wrong. The moongazer serpent's large body suddenly trembled, and it let out a roar. There was confusion and fear in its eyes, and it was about to rush out from this place. The flashing net closest to the moongazer serpent suddenly tore. The instant it tore, the opening widened and revealed a vast expanse. It was as if the seal in this void was ripped open and the 2 ghostly lights charged out. The moment that ghostly lights charged out, Wang Lin, Xianxia, and Lu Chen were all startled. "Teacher," Xianxia's eyes was filled with disbelief. "To see," Wang Lin gasped. His scalp felt numb and he was about to flee. "Ancestor," Lu Chen stared at the thing that charged out of the crack and was startled. All 3 of them saw different things. 7 colored gas came out from the crack. This gas was very dense and surrounded the moongazer serpent before mercilessly dragging it toward the crack. The moongazer serpent struggled and let out angry roars. However, its large body seemed to have lost all power to resist and could only be dragged into the crack. As the moongazer serpent was dragged in, the crack quickly expanded. At this moment, not only did the moongazer serpent's angry roar lose its effect, even Yimuzi and Wudo Chan, who were inside the moongazer serpent, were shocked. The two of them were moving quickly through the moongazer serpent when it was filled with the seven-colored gas. As the seven-colored gas filled the moongazer serpent's body, the two of them found that the rate at which they were losing origin energy had reached a horrifying degree. Large amounts of seven-colored gas came out through the crack. The gas split into three and went straight for Wang Lin, Lu Chen, and Xianxia. Leo holds a stuffed bear close to his chest, muttering prayers for likes on the video, sprinkling followers in his shares, as the children beside him start to crave. Chapter 943, Heaven's Tao. Lu Chen had the deepest feeling regarding the moongazer serpent's pain as they had assimilated. Without hesitation, he stepped forward and threw a punch. This punch turned into a powerful rumble, and it was several times stronger than when he fought Wang Lin. The giant elephant let out a roar and turned into a black light that wrapped around Lu Chen's fist. This caused the roar of the elephant to echo as he punched. The elephant reformed before the punch and charged into the seven-colored gas. There was a heaven-shaking sound and a shocking shockwave spread out. The seven-colored gas was pushed back a bit but quickly spread even more and devoured the giant elephant. As the seven-colored gas closed in on Xianxia, he didn't retreat, and instead his eyes turned cold. His right hand pointed between his eyebrows and a purple-red line appeared and formed an arc. When Xianxia saw that seven-colored gas, it was as if a flash of lightning crossed his mind, and he shouted, "I have spent my life cultivating as a celestial and have refined 7G realm roots, allowing me to become a celestial lord. I have slaughtered countless people but have never fought the Heaven's Tao." The moment the purple-red curved line appeared, it emitted a sizzling sound, and an extremely powerful force came out from it. "Heaven's Tao." A low voice came from the crack, and a chuckle came through. From the sound of the laugh, the person who spoke wasn't an old man. "Compared to you, who came from the sealed realm, I can indeed be considered your Heaven's Tao. The moongazer serpent, two ancient gods, and you who cultivates the J realm come with me to the place of the Heaven's Tao. This can be considered good fortune for you all." Xianxia's eyes became cold, and he charged out as the seven-colored gas closed in. The purple-red line arched through the seven-colored gas, creating popping sounds. As for Wang Lin, the seven-colored gas also closed in on him. This seven-colored gas contained a powerful sealing force that prevented him from retreating. Killing intent flashed across his eyes as he waved the god-slaying spear in his hand and shouted, "Collapse!" There was a loud rumble as the first 100 feet of the 1,000 feet god-slaying spear collapsed, creating a storm that shot toward the seven-colored gas. The moongazer serpent's roar became even more intense and it continued to struggle. The seven-colored gas surrounding its body looked like a seven-colored sun. It looked very beautiful. However, the mournful roar filled this beauty with strangeness. Half of the moongaze serpent's giant body had been pulled in, and was still being pulled in. Thanks to this seven-colored gas, it had lost all power to resist. Even as it struggled, it revealed a terrifying despair. Lu Chen had assimilated with the moongazer serpent. This roar pierced through him. As he rushed out, the 5 stars rotated and one of them flew out and collapsed. Shattered star of an ancient god. The star shattered and a crazed power appeared in the void. Just as the power of the shattered star was about to spread, Lu Chen mercilessly inhaled. As he inhaled, the power of the shattered star entered his mouth. Roars of pain came from his mouth as his body expanded from 3,000 feet to more than 7,000 feet. With one step, he broke free from the seven-colored gas and arrived next to the crack. As he roared, his powerful fist punched out. As he punched, one of the 4 stars between his eyebrows shattered. The star that shattered formed an unimaginable impact that entered his right arm and allowed him to launch a punch at peak power. This punch borrowed the power of 2 shattered stars. This allowed Lu Chen to reach power just short of his peak. As his roar echoed, 10 giant elephants appeared and charged forward. Boom, boom, boom. At this instant, the void was filled with this majestic sound. His voice was so intense that even Wang Lin felt his ears sting. The void under his feet seemed to be impacted by a powerful force. If one looked from above, it would look as if the void within hundreds of thousands of kilometers had been scraped open, revealing the flashing net below. Even the seven-colored gas around Wang Lin and Xianxia was pushed back. The crack that was swallowing the moongazer serpent was ripped open, and the seven-colored gas was pushed back, revealing the figure hidden inside the seven-colored gas. The figure was completely exposed. He was a youth that looked very ordinary, but his eyes were extremely cold. What stood out about him was a crescent moon mark between his eyebrows. He coldly looked at Wang Lin's group and remained neutral toward Lu Chen's, almost peak attack. He raised his right hand and calmly said, "Sealed Realm S99th Formation, Devour Formation, activate." After he spoke, a rapidly rotating vortex appeared before the youth. The vortex was dark, and it was like a mouth that could devour all. It expanded like crazy and seemed to devour Lu Chen's punch. However, just this vortex wasn't T enough to dissolve Lu Chen's ancient god power. After it devoured, the vortex rumbled and immediately collapsed. The youth's expression changed, and he retreated. Then his hands formed a seal and he shouted, "The Sealed Realm S9th Formation, Heaven-Splitting Formation, activate!" As he spoke, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a large mouthful of blood. This blood entered the crack before causing specks of light to fly out and condense into a large war axe. The moment the axe appeared, a pressure that could shake the heavens appeared, and large amounts of collapse appeared out of nowhere. The war axe flashed and charged toward Lu Chen. It collided with Lu Chen's fist. As the resulting rumble echoed, the war axe collapsed and Lu Chen coughed out blood. After being knocked back a few steps, one of the 3 remaining ancient god stars on Lu Chen's forehead shattered, and he rushed out once more. The shatter of the 3rd star caused storms around his body. His body went from 7,000 feet directly to more than 10,000 feet tall. He was now a true ancient god giant. Although it was far from his peak, he already held unimaginable power. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. If Lu Chen lost, he would be in danger. He took a step forward and his 4-star royal ancient god power surged out like crazy. He threw the god-slaying spear in his hand, and then formed a diamond with his hands and pressed forward. A diamond light flashed out and merged with the god-slaying spear. It penetrated the void and shot toward the youth. There was also Xianxia. Without pause, his hands formed a seal and 7 arcs of G-realm threads connected together and quickly shot forward. As Lu Chen roared, his 10,000-foot body charged forward. His eyes were fearless as he threw his bombardment of punches. The peak attack of the 3 caused the youth to panic and his pupils to shrink. At this moment, a withered hand reached out and pulled the youth back. A wild-haired old man walked out and stood before the youth. "Master." As soon as the youth spoke, the old man shouted, "Shut up! Who allowed you to open the sealed realm?" As the old man spoke, his hand formed a seal, then he said, requesting the formation to activate the heaven-splitting axe. The moment the old man spoke, specks of light appeared within hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of kilometers. These specks of light gathered like crazy toward where Wang Lin's group was. They were simply too fast. Their speed broke the limit of law. They were even several times faster than the peak attacks of Wang Lin's group. The entire void seemed to be lit up. The originally dark void was filled with lines of crystal light. In an instant, these specks of light had already taken shape. A war axe 1,000 feet long suddenly appeared. This war axe was formed by specks of light and was filled with a primal aura. As this aura spread out, the war axe suddenly descended. It appeared before the old man and directly met the peak attacks of Wang Lin's group. Bang, bang, bang. As a crazy rumble echoed, Xianxia coughed out a mouthful of blood and was knocked away. Wang Lin trembled and cracks appeared on his body. The 4 stars on his forehead rapidly rotated to offset the unimaginable impact, but he was also knocked back. Lu Chen's body gradually shrank, and the power of the shattered stars quickly dissipated. His eyes were filled with sadness as he looked at the axe in the sky and shouted, "Wang Lin, does your inheritance know about this object? It is the holy treasure of the ancient god clan." The heaven-splitting axe exploded into countless specks of light, causing the fragmented net to quickly recover. The old man outside the net revealed a strange look. Then he waved his hand and the specks of light turned into 3 large hands. One of them grabbed the moongazer's serpent and mercilessly pulled it outside the net. The other hand reached toward Lu Chen. Right now, he simply had no power to resist. The 3rd giant hand reached toward Wang Lin. Just at this instant, decisiveness filled Lu Chen's eyes, as if he was determined to do something. The moment the giant hand grabbed him, his right hand reached toward between his eyebrows. He took the last 2 ancient god stars and threw them toward Wang Lin with a wry smile on his face. His gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with never-before-seen gentleness. It was like an elder in the family looking at their own child. Your challenge to adulthood was excellent. Not even my child was as excellent as you all children of the ancient god clan receive a gift after their challenge. These 2 ancient god stars will be my gift to you. Lu Chen's voice was filled with a trace of relief and sadness as he looked at the void. He was grabbed by the giant hand and pulled outside the net. Ancient god, you can reverse the heavens, but you can reverse life. I, Lu Chen, am not an ancient god, but a lonely god. Leo's birthday has passed. Thank you all for your blessings, your praise. Leo will continue to strive, producing increasingly captivating chapters. Brothers, keep your sharp tongues sheathed, stored away carefully. Chapter 944, Heaven-defying bead reappears. Lu Chen's sad voice echoed across the void and landed in Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin's mind trembled and he felt some kind of resonance. Lu Chen had dared to defy the heavens and wasn't he afraid of heaven or earth. However, he wasn't able to reverse his own fate, which was the Moongazer serpent. He was assimilated with the Moongazer serpent and had most of his ancient god power absorbed. This forced him to revert from a peak 8-star ancient god back into child form. All of this was a fate he couldn't change. He had been trapped inside the Moongazer serpent for tens of thousands of years, living a life that was worse than death. With the pride of the ancient gods, the humiliation he suffered in his heart revealed his desolation. The ancient god clan was an extremely proud clan, and this pride refused to allow anything to trample on them. 2C was the same, and Lu Chen was also the same. Wang Lin silently pondered and his heart filled with pain. However, there was respect in his eyes. He respected ancient god Lu Chen. At this moment there was a whistle in the void as the 2 ancient god stars moved at extreme speed toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin grabbed the 2 stars, and at that moment, the stars merged with Wang Lin. At this instant, an unimaginable ancient god power filled Wang Lin's body. This ancient god power was too strong, and popping sounds came from Wang Lin's body. In the blink of an eye, his body grew several times larger. He was now more than 3,000 feet tall. All the veins on his body bulged as if there was a power inside him that wanted to tear him apart. Filled with pain, Wang Lin charged forward and let out a roar. This roar turned into endless sonic booms and shot forward. It also contained the might of a royal ancient god, which caused the giant golden hand coming at him to pause. Wang Lin could clearly feel the power of the ancient gods from the 2 stars Lu Chen threw at him surge through his entire body. This ancient god power was equivalent to Wang Lin absorbing spiritual energy from countless planets for tens of thousands of years. It was as if his body was going to collapse under his power. That feeling of his body being torn apart made him almost crazy, so he let out roars to vent himself. There was a trace of violent pressure within these roars. The stars rapidly rotated between his eyebrows until it was impossible to see how many stars there were. Wang Lin let out a roar as he took a step and mercilessly threw a punch. This punch immediately set off a storm. The void before him was pushed back as if it was being ripped open, and a powerful force swept forward. The large hand formed by the golden light paused due to the punch Wang Lin released. However, with a heaven-shaking bang, Wang Lin's hand and the golden hand collided. Bang! Bang, bang, bang! This bombardment of punches caused both sides to stagger. The crazy amount of impacts caused the giant hand to retreat. Wang Lin's body trembled a bit, and he retreated a few steps. At this point, his eyes gradually calmed down. At this moment, he no longer felt pain from his body, but instead felt comfortable. He clenched his fists as if he was holding the world. There was no giant hand reaching for Qing Shui, but his eyes had a strange gaze as he looked at the 2 people on the other side of the net. His eyes were filled with confusion, but there was also a trace of struggle in them. It was as if he was in a trace, and pain came from his head. It felt as if there was a hidden memory that was mercilessly opened when he saw those 2. The flashing net in the void was rapidly recovering. Just as it was about to recover completely, there was a flash of coldness in the eyes of the old man outside the net. He stared at Wang Lin's giant body, especially at the 4 rapidly rotating stars with a vortex in the middle. Specks of golden light scattered from Wang Lin's body and gathered at the vortex, causing waves of powerful ancient god power to spread out. There was a drop of black liquid that appeared and disappeared within the vortex. He really is a royal ancient god. The old man's eyes shined brightly. A 5-star royal ancient god that has just awakened. I didn't expect there to still be royal ancient gods in the sealed realm. If the Elder Council finds out about this, it will set off a great storm. Fortunately, this person is only in the awakening state. If he had fully awakened and reached 6 stars, then even I would have to retreat. The old man gasped and greed filled his eyes. If I can absorb his royal ancient god power, I will be able to occupy a seat in the Elder Council. The crescent moon mark flashed between the old man's eyebrows, and he clenched his teeth. Then his hands formed a seal, and the crescent moon mark actually flew out, forming a 10-foot-tall crescent moon imprint. This old man is a member of the ancient Moon Devourer clan of the immemorial Celestial clan. Today I've come across the greatest opportunity in my life. No matter what, I can let him go. As the old man roared, the crescent moon mark flashed like crazy and charged forward. Just as the net in the void was about to withdraw completely, the crescent moon mark suddenly drilled out. It grew in the void until it was several thousand feet tall and was comparable to Wang Lin. Moon Celestial devours God. The old man's eyes suddenly widened and a large amount of veins bulged on his face. As the veins extended, they gathered under the crescent moon mark, making him look very ferocious. The moment he spoke, the crescent moon mark seemed to boil and gave off a demonic light. Then a giant mouth appeared on the crescent moon mark and charged to devour Wang Lin. Endless suction force came from inside the big mouth. This suction was extremely strange. It was as if countless threads had come out to drill into Wang Lin's body. The mouth from the crescent moon was so fast that it closed in on Wang Lin in an instant. Wang Lin simply had no chance to react. As the endless suction filled the area, it directly devoured Wang Lin. Wang Lin's figure no longer existed in the void. The only thing that remained was the huge crescent moon mark. The old man was very excited when the crescent moon mark rushed back. He wanted to make it out of the net before it completely withdrew. The old man's laughter was filled with excitement. He didn't think he would encounter such fortune today. After devouring this royal ancient god, this old man will have the cultivation level to hold a position on the Elder Council. The old man charged forward toward the net. His right hand reached out for the crescent moon mark. He had already thought about how he was going to gain respect in the Elder Council. After he devoured the royal ancient god, how he would stand above all within his sect. However, just at this instant, the old man's expression changed greatly and his face filled with disbelief. All of his plans were ruined and he stared straight ahead. A crazy aura came out from the crescent moon mark that devoured Wang Lin. This aura was extremely powerful and caused the crescent moon mark to tremble violently. Then the crescent moon mark exploded with a bang. The crescent moon mark was broken by force into countless pieces. At this moment, the old man's face was completely pale and popping sounds came from between his eyebrows. Then he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. Terror filled his eyes and he cried, "Impossible!" The crescent moon mark between his eyebrows cracked in half and the old man was knocked back. The youth in black next to him was still in a daze. Even now, he still didn't understand why such a shocking change had occurred. Inside the net, Wang Lin walked out from the shattered crescent moon mark. The 5 stars on his forehead rotated slowly, and the power of a royal star, ancient god, filled the area. However, this wasn't what made the crescent moon mark explode, or what made the old man cough out blood. At this moment, there was a black and white bead floating between Wang Lin's eyebrows. Heaven-defying bead. The moment Wang Lin was devoured by the crescent moon mark, the heaven-defying bead began moving on its own and flew out from between his eyebrows. The moment the heaven-defying bead appeared, a mysterious force came out from within it. The crescent moon mark wasn't able to resist at all and suddenly collapsed. At this moment, black and white gas surrounded the heaven-defying bead. The black and white gas charged out, went through the flashing net, and charged directly at the old man. The old man screamed and his face filled with fear. It was as if he recognized the heaven-defying bead. His gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with unimaginable fear. You are. He lost his wits and retreated while feeling shocked. The fear in his eyes almost reached its peak. However, he was too slow. The black and white gas went through the net that sealed this void. The moment it charged out, the black and white gas expanded and sped up before chasing after the old man. In an instant, the black and white gas caught up. Whether the old man tried to teleport or merge with the world, everything became pointless before the black and white gas from the heaven-defying bead. The moment the black and white gas closed in, it surrounded the old man. The old man's body trembled violently. Fear filled his eyes, and his pounding heart isolated all other sounds. As the black and white gas circled him, it formed a vortex before the old man. An arm came out from the vortex and made a beckoning motion toward the old man. The broken moon mark between the old man's eyebrows shot out with a bang, and there were still lines of blood connected to the mark. The moment the mark flew out, the old man let out an extremely miserable scream. His body trembled, large drops of sweat fell from his face, and the veins on his body bulged as if they were about to explode. Leo truly didn't realize today was May 20th. Leo's already married, not caring about this day at all. Truly no intention. Truly no intention. I'm already married. Yes, just like that. CHIRP, CHIRP, CHIRP. Chapter 945. Secret. Despair filled the old man's eyes as he looked at Wang Lin and mournfully said, "Sealed realm S Supreme, please spare my life." However, Wang Lin was still in shock and had simply no control over this matter, much less over the heaven-defying bead. Seeing that Wang Lin made no attempt to stop the heaven-defying bead, the old man let out a miserable smile. He watched as the crescent moon mark was pulled from his forehead by the big hand before it slowly returned back into the vortex. Large amounts of blood sprayed out from the old man's forehead and he became dispirited. His eyes were bleak, and his body flew back as if he had been hit by a powerful impact. Fear filled black-robed youth's eyes as he looked at Wang Lin. The coldness in his eyes collapsed and was replaced with terror. He dodged Wang Lin's gaze and didn't dare to make eye contact. His body flashed and he grabbed hold of the old man. The old man's eyes revealed a trace of struggle. Disregarding the blood from between his eyebrows, he shouted, "Quickly, retreat!" The youth didn't hesitate and quickly retreated while carrying the old man. The formation formed by the black and white gas dissipated back into black and white gas. Then it penetrated the recovering net and returned back into the heaven-defying bead. The heaven-defying bead slowly flew to Wang Lin and floated before him. The surrounding flashing net was slowly covered by the void once more. Then there was nothing but the endless darkness and silence. As for the moongazer serpent and Lu Chen, they were isolated outside the net. When the void spread, they disappeared forever. Qing Shui stared at all of this. A majority of his celestial origin energy had been sealed. He looked at Wang Lin and his originally confused eyes became focused. Looking at the heaven-defying bead, Wang Lin was just as shocked as the old man who had lost his mark from ancient times. He wasn't unfamiliar with the arm that came out from the vortex. He saw it when he first activated the heaven-defying bead. At this moment, while he pondered, Wang Lin carefully raised his right hand and touched the heaven-defying bead. The bead immediately entered his right hand and disappeared into his origin soul. During ancient times, there were ancient people that cultivated their own heaven and earth. They became celestials and formed the ancient celestial realm. The ancient celestial realm is the holy land of my celestial realm, the real celestial realm. Qing Shui seemed to be speaking to himself, and there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. Master Bai Fan was someone from the ancient celestial realm. He descended from the ancient celestial realm to teach us all. Teacher once said that the ancient celestial realm was the guardian of all life. If the ancient celestial realm exists, then the heavens and earth will exist. If the ancient celestial realm was gone, then everything would be destroyed. He originally thought that the ancient celestial realm would be eternal, but that day the towering tree supporting the ancient celestial realm collapsed, and the ancient celestial realm disappeared without a trace. Even after spending a lifetime searching, Teacher wasn't able to find a trace of the ancient celestial realm. The disappearance of the ancient celestial realm represented the collapse of the ancient cultivation world and ushered a new era. The world was confused. Without the ancient celestial realm, how could there be celestials? Thus, Q refiners were born. I, Qing Shui, was a Q refiner. I was heir to the country of clear water. However, although the celestial realm was gone, Master Bai Fan and few of his peers opened their own world. They took the 4 great passages to the ancient celestial realm and created their own land, naming it Celestial Realm. The wind, rain, thunder, and lightning celestial realms split the galaxy into 4 systems. Under the wind celestial realm was the cloud sea. Under the rain celestial realm was brilliant void. Under the thunder celestial realm was all heaven. And under the lightning celestial realm was summoned river. The system below the rain celestial realm had its name changed by others to the Alliance. Who else still knows that this place was once called Brilliant Void? Qing Shui let out a sigh as he looked at the void. It was as if he was looking at the Thunder Celestial Realm from back then, and reminiscence filled his eyes. At the Thunder Celestial Realm, I met her. As Wang Lin pondered, his body gradually shrank. Popping sounds echoed as his 3,000-foot body slowly returned to normal size. 5 ancient god stars rotated between his eyebrows and gave off a fierce ancient god aura. At this moment, Wang Lin's original body had the power of a 5-star ancient god, and he was now considered one of the strong. If a 5-star royal ancient god used a spell, he could battle early-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivators. Once he returns to normal space and his origin energy is unsealed, almost no early-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivator will be his match. For the first time, Wang Lin felt like he was powerful. His expression was calm as he silently looked at Qing Shui. Qing Shui's eyes revealed a hint of gentleness, but it was soon replaced with pain. He could never forget that time where he was lost in madness and accidentally killed his beloved partner. This kind of pain was deep inside his heart, and it continued to devour him. Not even unforgettable was enough to express how powerful it was. During ancient times, when my celestial clan was at its peak in my memory, I clearly remember that this peak didn't last for long. The 4 celestial realms entered a life and death battle over a single item. The pain was quickly hidden away. This was a pain he faced alone every night, an unspeakable pain he could never forget. This great war lasted for far too long, and in the end, the celestial realms lost too much in the end. During the peak of the war, a person came out from the void. According to Master Bai Fan, this person was an old acquaintance from the ancient celestial realm. His appearance prevented this war from continuing, and he held the order from the ancient celestial realm to set a barrier between the 4 celestial realms. If the barrier was opened once more, the anger of the ancient celestial realm would descend and burn everything. As Qing Shui's voice echoed, Wang Lin silently listened. The 4 great celestial realms were isolated from each other, and the war was over. As for the root of all of this, the thing everyone wanted, I don't know. All I know is that it was a bead. Qing Shui looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained the same, but his mind was in shock. If I had obtained that bead, I would certainly keep it well hidden and not take it out, or let anyone see it. This object is simply too important. Qing Shui spoke as if he was talking to himself and let out a sigh. The great war between the 4 celestial realms caused them to lose too many celestials. All 4 realms were at their weakest. However, it was during that time that a shocking change occurred. A bunch of freaks from the Tattoo clan came from an unknown origin and appeared in the realm under the 4 celestial realms. These Tattoo clan members used extremely strange spells. We celestials were completely different. We don't cultivate Tao, only our celestial origin. We can reverse the power of heavens and wield it. Those people gathered all their power onto talisman-like treasures and used them. The battle was very intense. In the end, my celestial clan won and scattered this Tattoo clan. We even turned a large amount of them into our slaves. However, the 4 celestial realms suffered even more damage after that. We found out that this Tattoo clan came from the void under space, which is here. Qing Shui pointed under his feet. Wang Lin gasped, and his eyes shined. He had encountered the chosen immortal clan a lot, but he didn't expect the chosen immortal clan's origin to be the void. Thinking about the old man and youth, an idea suddenly appeared in Wang Lin's mind. This void doesn't only surround the Alliance, it surrounds all 4 systems under the 4 celestial realms. Qing Shui let out a sigh and muttered, after the war with the Tattoo clan, I began to show signs of madness. But at that time I didn't pay attention to any of this after that. You should be heard about what happened from Master Flamespark. Wang Lin pondered for a bit while he looked at Qing Shui. After a long time he slowly said, Senior brother. That old man said that he was from the ancient Moon Devourer clan of the immemorial celestial clan. Qing Shui's eyes were filled with confusion as he softly said, This is what also confuses me. I have never heard of this immemorial celestial clan. Could the Tattoo clan from back then be from the same place? Were they also members of the immemorial celestial clan? The confusion in Qing Shui's eyes became even stronger. However, I feel very strange. The moment the 7-colored gas appeared, I unexpectedly saw an illusion. I heard that teacher died while pointing madly at the sky. What exactly did teacher see? Wang Lin pondered deeply. A large mystery seemed to fill the surroundings, but it was hidden in smoke, not allowing anyone to see the truth inside. Both Wang Lin and Qing Shui silently partnered in the void. The celestial origin energy in Qing Shui's body was eventually completely sealed. He gradually weakened, and on the third day he lost the ability to fly. Wang Lin supported Qing Shui as he continued to move through the void. The celestial fragment Master Flamespark gave him floated before him and gave off a gentle light. It was as if it had made a connection with the outside world and was leading the way. Supporting Qing Shui, Wang Lin followed the celestial fragment. On the 9th day, Qing Shui was extremely weak. He looked at the void and the drifting celestial fragment as he said, "After I take the memories from esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul, you should keep the origin soul. His origin soul contains a large amount of celestial origin energy, so it will be very useful to you. Your attitude is very similar to mine back then. I hope you will cherish it more than me." Because I no longer have the qualifications or people to cherish, Qing Shui looked at Wang Lin as if he was looking at his past self. The same kind of coldness, the same kind of slaughter, and the same kind of loneliness. On this day, the celestial fragment suddenly shined brightly and stopped. As it shined, a vortex appeared before it. There was an altar on the vortex with countless cultivators chanting. Master Flamespark stood on the altar with a smile and his voice entered. "Welcome back." Leo continues to read. Today is Monday, wishing for just a few more likes and followers for the VIDEO channel. Chapter 946. The Child Who Pointed at the Apricot Flower Village. There was a bright nebula among the vastness of space. This colorful nebula looked static, but it was undergoing a change unseen to the eye. This nebula was filled with different colors and was very beautiful. On this day, a ray of light flew through the nebula. This ray of light wasn't T-fast, but when it passed through the nebula, it made it look as if the nebula was boiling and retreating. What was more astonishing was that the person inside the ray of light wasn't using a treasure like the star compass. He was moving with his body. This person wore a green robe and looked about 30 years old. His appearance was ordinary and there was nothing unusual about him. If there was anything notable, it was that he gave off an ancient temperament. It was as if this person had lived for tens of thousands of years. Wang Lin walked the entire way. He didn't use spatial bending, he just calmly walked among the stars. It had been 4 days since he returned from the void. 4 days ago, he and Qing Shui opened up the passage back from the void with the help of Master Flamespark. Wang Lin didn't mention much about what happened in the void. He didn't go too deeply into the whereabouts of Yi Muzi, Wudo Chan, and the Moongazer Serpent. Master Flamespark didn't ask too much about it, but when they talked about the Moongazer Serpent, he frowned. Wang Lin didn't linger too long with Master Flamespark. He decided to leave using a private matter as an excuse. Master Flamespark silently pondered for a long time and didn't force Wang Lin to stay. Although he couldn't see through Wang Lin's ancient god body even though his cultivation level was much higher, he could feel a powerful aura that shocked him greatly coming from Wang Lin. Although this aura was fearsome now, with time, it would grow to an extremely terrifying degree. The seal on Qing Shui's cultivation quickly undid itself once he returned. After all, his celestial origin energy didn't really disappear. It was merely suppressed by the seal. After recovering his cultivation, Qing Shui didn't stay where Master Flamespark was. He disappeared among the stars, his whereabouts unknown. On the surface, when the two left, it looked like they didn't interact at all, but Wang Lin knew Qing Shui would come and find him. After all, Qing Shui hadn't searched esteemed Xuanbao's memories yet. Thinking about what happened in the void, Wang Lin felt very regrettable about it all. Whether it was Lu Chen's life, the waves outside the seal, or the secrets of the celestial realm, they were all fresh in Wang Lin's mind. What shocked him the most was the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin would never have guessed that the heaven-defying bead would unexpectedly trigger a great war between the 4 celestial realms. The great war between the 4 celestial realms was certainly more fierce than the battle between Alheaven and the Alliance. Wang Lin let out a sigh as he went through the nebula and looked ahead. At some point, he turned around and remained unmoving. A moment later, ripples spread from where he was looking and Qing Shui walked out. He looked at Wang Lin with admiration in his eyes. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he smiled. Senior brother came. The current you is qualified to travel the stars, so I can relax. Qing Shui took a step and arrived next to Wang Lin. Wang Lin immediately noticed a powerful smell of blood from Xianxia's body. He could vaguely feel that Xianxia's cultivation was several times stronger than several days ago. On the way, I heard a few people talking about your name, so I went and killed some alliance cultivators who were good at hiding. Although Xianxia spoke like it was nothing, Wang Lin could tell that this was absolutely not a small matter. The truth was certainly as he explained. The slaughter realm of the alliance had kept up their pursuit of Thunder Celestial Shumu. Although Wang Lin had gone into the void, they didn't give up and stayed around. However, they didn't scatter but divided into two teams near where the Al-Heaven cultivators were. However, this slaughter realm had terrible luck, and one of its groups was confronted by Xianxia. All of them were killed, and even the leader was devoured by Xianxia. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul flew out. He threw it at Xianxia. Xianxia caught it and placed his right hand between esteemed Xuanbao's eyebrows. Celestial origin energy surged into Xianxia's right hand, and esteemed Xuanbao awakened. Burst of miserable screams echoed and his origin soul convulsed. Xianxia's expression was gloomy, and his eyes were closed. After a long time, he opened his eyes and there was a layer of frost over his face. He threw esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul back at Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't speak, and caught esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul. This origin soul had lost its consciousness and had become nothing but a source of celestial origin energy. The former dignified Celestial, the junior brother of the esteemed Tianbao, ended up like this. It could only be said that whether you were a Celestial or a cultivator, if you were a bit careless, you could end up in this state. If you wished to be different, then you had to become the strongest. Wang Lin put this origin soul into his bag of holding and looked at Xianxia. Xianxia's expression had returned back to normal, but there was a hint of fierceness in it. He had found a sliver of a clue from esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul. Xianxia looked at Wang Lin and slowly said, "Shumu, I need to go the Alliance's slaughter realm to pick up an item. Are you willing to go with me?" Wang Lin pondered a bit and said, "Can senior brother wait for me for 10 days? Xianxia nodded and said, "Okay, I'll come looking for you in 10 days. Xianxia didn't waste time. He took a step and disappeared into the void. The moment he disappeared, a monstrous killing intent disappeared instantly. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He knew that Xianxia must have found someone within esteemed Xuanbao's origin soul. After pondering for a bit, he took a step and ripples appeared under his feet. He merged with the world. The reason he asked for 10 days was because there were two matters he had to attend to. There was a cultivation planet in the northern region of the Alliance. This planet was in the depths of the northern region and was far away from the battle several days ago, so it wasn't affected by the big battle. This planet was filled with spiritual energy and covered with endless forests. This was a rank cultivation planet. There were 3 smaller cultivation planets around this planet, making them the secondary planets. This rank 7 cultivation planet had a very beautiful name. It was called Dark Moon. A majority of planet Dark Moon was covered in forests, and large amounts of mortal villages were scattered across the planet. There were also many cultivation sects within its numerous mountains. There was a famous mountain in the southern part of the planet, and it was called Heaven Mountain. This mountain was very tall and the top was covered in mist. No one knew where the peak was. A small path of stone steps led up the mountain, and the rest was hidden within the clouds. One couldn't help but feel like this place was the celestial realm. Every morning, the sound of bells would echo from the peak of the mountain. A few beautiful birds would fly out among the clouds and wander Heaven Mountain. Their cries would intersect with the sound of the bells. This scene was like a scene from a painting. It was extremely elegant, like a hidden paradise. Dong dong dong, the sound of the bell seemed to pierce the clouds as it spread out from the peak. It made the heart of anyone who heard it feel peaceful. There was a mortal village at the foot of mountain. There weren't many people there, only about 100 families. The village was filled with apricot trees, and the trees were in full bloom. A gust of wind would cause the fragrance of the apricot flowers to spread. Smelling the fragrance of the apricot flowers would make one feel calm. The sound of the bell seemed to blow away the coldness of night in the early morning. Burst of smoke and the sound of dogs barking appeared. As the smoke floated into the air, as if it removed the last sliver of darkness of night. Looking at this from away, it was like a moving picture and contained its own domain. Wang Lin silently stood in the distance and looked at the village ahead. The smoke and the swaying apricot trees were dynamic, and the almost 100 houses were static. The dynamic and static things contrasted each other like the leisurely and busy lives. This inadvertent combination made Wang Lin feel familiar and yet unfamiliar at the same time. What he recalled was not the village before him, but his childhood back on planet Suzaku. In a fragments of nursery rhyme came from the distances as the sound of the bell ringing echoed in the morning. The apricot tree blooms white flowers. The daughter won tea be taken by a Taoist family. Last year, Lang II went up the mountain, and a year later Lang I was a bag of bones. The cry of the daughter accompanies the dead, but takes the coffin as family. The apricot tree blooms white flowers, and children shouldn't tea be taken by Taoists. If asked about my age, I still don't tea have found my Tao. The dog barks, the cat scratches, scaring the Taoist back home. The voice of a tender child entered Wang Lin's ears along with the sound of a crisp bell ringing. It was a child dressed in close-fitting clothes riding on an ox walking toward the village. There was an iron hoop through the ox's nose with 2 bells attached. As the ox walked, the bells would ring unceasingly. There were several calves following the ox. The child saw Wang Lin but wasn't too afraid as he continued to sing the nursery rhyme and gradually approached Wang Lin. The child tilted his head and his big eyes blinked as he said, "Uncle, why are you here? Are you lost?" Wang Lin revealed a smile and nodded. "What is this place?" The child pointed ahead and said his tender voice, "This is the apricot flower village." As he spoke, he sat on the ox and walked into the village. Only the nursery rhyme continued to echo. Wang Lin let out a sigh. When the nursery rhyme entered his ears, a hint of sadness arose within him. He muttered, "Planet Dark Moon, a village under Heaven Mountain, this should be it." That vague call from a dying friend who was homesick echoed in Wang Lin's ears. "Please take my ashes back to Planet Dark Moon in the Alliance star system. There is a mountain called Heaven Mountain. I remember that there was a village under the mountain. Please take my ashes there. 1. Old corpse sec guy. Leo has a nasal inflammation and a cold again. My nose is just like a running faucet. Frustrated." Chapter 947, Qualification. Several kilometers outside of Apricot Flower Village, there were a field of graves. Wang Lin's figure appeared there. He looked at the graves before him, and after pondering for a long time, he slapped his bag of holding. A white jade vial appeared in his hand. Holding the bottle, Wang Lin let out a sigh and said, "Suntai, the grudge before us is over. I have completed the promise I made to you to bring your ashes home." As he spoke, the small bottle automatically flew forward and entered the soil in the distance. Then a small mound slowly formed. He waved his right hand and carved with his finger. There were flashes of light as Wang Lin carved a decorative tombstone with a few small words on it. Sontai's grave. For U.S. cultivators, 100 years, 1,000 years pass in the blink of an eye. Most relatives will have passed away, and those that remain feel alienated. Once you step on the path of cultivation, you are doomed to a life of hardship. When you're walking down the path of cultivation, when you turn your head you can see where you came from, and when you look at the path ahead, it is shrouded in fog. Wang Lin let out a sigh as he looked at Sontai's grave, and regret filled his eyes. "Today I was able to send your ashes home even though you died in a foreign land. If there is a day when I die, I don't to know if there will be anyone to send me back to planet Suzaku." Wang Lin silently pondered before leaving. This is karma. Wang Lin's footsteps didn't stop as he gradually disappeared. However, that nursery rhyme didn't leave. It shrouded his heart. Apricot tree blooms white flowers. Cultivation, mortals yearn to become immortal and enter the cultivation world. Yet they don't to know how many cultivators are envious of a mortal's bland life. How many more died in foreign places like Suntai, their ashes scattering with the wind, unable to return home, however. Many parents and relatives weren't able to meet their children even at their dying moment. If one had the choice again, would they still take that step to become a cultivator? The nursery rhyme was formed by many generations of bitterness. Outsiders might not be able to understand what the child sings about, but cultivators can feel the sadness in their heart. The name of that nursery rhyme must be Don T. Cultivate. Wang Lin's figure faded from existed as he merged with the word. However, that nursery rhyme and that eternal sadness remained. Wang Lin stepped through the stars. There was a powerful sense of regret over his body. Although the trip was short, the mood lingered with him. The area between the western and northern regions had become the buffer area for the Alheaven cultivators. There was a cultivation planet near where the battlefield was. This cultivation planet was kept rather intact, and although there wasn't much spiritual energy left, Li Yunzi didn't care. Li Yunzi sat at the peak of a mountain on the planet. Beside him was a youth who had a gloomy expression. Although he was also sitting there, he looked into the distance as if he was waiting for something. If Wang Lin was here, he would recognize the youth as Shu Ting, who nearly died in the big battle. There were 13 balls of blood around Li Yunzi. These 13 balls of blood were the remaining Lu Fu. There weren't many Alheaven cultivators here, only a few people, with Li Yunzi as the leader. He was here precisely because the Lu Fu would prevent the alliance from launching another attack. His divine sense was spread through the 13 Lu Fu, which allowed his divine sense to spread much farther than normal. As a result, nothing within the area could escape his divine sense. Wang Lin's figure appeared from within the ripples. He came to this cultivation planet looking for Li Yunzi. This was the second matter he had to attend to. Back before he entered the void, Wang Lin had a divine sense message sent to him, and the person who sent it was Li Yunzi. Li Yunzi, who was sitting on the top of the mountain, slowly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, the 13 balls of blood trembled, and 13 red eyes appeared on the 13 balls of blood. All of them were staring in one direction, and a powerful pressure formed as a result. It formed a spell that could collapse the stars. Li Yunzi revealed a faint smile and slowly said, "You came." With this cultivation, he could naturally see that Wang Lin had undergone some changes, but he didn't point it out or question Wang Lin. After all, he was inferior to Master Flamespark and therefore wasn't able to clearly see through it. There was a flash of coldness in Shu Ting's eyes. He let out a cold snort and didn't hide his killing intent as he stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's figure appeared under the gazes of the 13 red eyes. His expression was neutral, as if the pressure didn't affect him at all, and he completely ignored Shu Ting. He looked at Li Yunzi and said, "Shu Mu greets Senior Li Yunzi." Li Yunzi waved his right hand, and the 13 red eyes disappeared from the balls of blood, causing the pressure to disappear. Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all as he landed on top of the mountain and stood opposite of Shu Ting. Shu Ting shouted, "Shu Mu, you!" Noisy. Wang Lin coldly looked at Shu Ting. This gaze was like a sharp sword that pierced through Shu Ting's eyes. Shu Ting felt an explosion in his mind, and his expression changed greatly. He was in shock, and his entire body felt weak. Wang Lin's words seemed to contain some kind of law that caused the blood flow in his body to reverse and his celestial origin to almost collapse. Bang, 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 bang. At this instant, all sounds aside from his heartbeat were isolated from his ears. His heart rate accelerated and sweat poured out non-stop. From his view, facing Wang Lin just now felt like he was facing an elder of his family, and he couldn't resist at all. What made him feel even more fear was the powerful aura that was several times stronger than the heaven's might. As his body trembled, he felt like he was under the feet of a giant. If this giant roared, it would make his body and origin soul completely collapse. After coughing out a mouthful of blood, Shu Ting was filled with terror. He retreated as he stared at Wang Lin, but his mind was blank. He couldn't understand why this had happened. Li Yunzi's eyes shined brightly, and he exclaimed. Then his gaze toward Wang Lin became serious. Wang Lin no longer looked at Shu Ting but looked at Li Yunzi and calmly said, "I wonder why Senior has called Junior here." Wang Lin's voice was calm, but it just made Li Yunzi even more serious. He no longer looked at Wang Lin like an ordinary junior. This was the effect Wang Lin wanted. He wanted to shake the mountain to alert the tiger. With his intelligence, how could he not know why Li Yunzi was looking for him? Back then he didn't have the qualifications to make demands, but now he did. During the celestial bestowment, this old man allowed you to look at the Zhan family's battle scroll. I promised you then to allow you to see the second scroll. Today I called you and Shu Ting over to observe it. As Li Yunzi spoke, he lifted his left hand and reached toward the void. There was a tearing sound, and then a rift appeared. A ray of black light shot out from the crack. There was a black scroll surrounded by black light. It flew toward Li Yunzi's hand and floated there. This is second battle scroll of my Zan family S3 battle scrolls. Li Yunzi's left hand threw it forward, and he looked at Wang Lin with a hint of anticipation. Wang Lin's right hand grabbed the Zhan battle scroll, but he didn't open it. Instead, he smiled at Li Yunzi and said, "Senior Li Yunzi, Junior can view this second battle scroll for nothing." As Li Yunzi looked at Wang Lin, his expression became gloomy. However, he recalled Wang Lin's roar, and a moment later he laughed. "Shu Mu, you've got guts. What do you want? Speak." Wang Lin pointed at the 13 Lu Fu and calmly said, "Junior wants a Lu Fu for looking at the second scroll." Li Yunzi silently pondered as he revealed a smile that was not a smile and said, "Is this a treasure you can have?" Wang Lin faintly smiled but didn't answer the question. Instead, he said, "Junior has an appointment with my senior brother. In a few days, he will come find me to go to a place with him." Li Yunzi meaningfully looked at Wang Lin as he laughed and said, "I'll gift you one." With that, his right hand reached toward the void, and one the balls of blood descended. It rapidly condensed into a fist-sized ball and floated toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin carefully grabbed it and put it in his bag after checking it. Li Yunzi said, "Now you can look at it. Since Vice Thunder Celestial Shu Ting is going to view it with me for a chance at good fortune, then Shu Ting should view it first. After all, he was the first to view it last time." Wang Lin threw the scroll at Shu Ting. Shu Ting's trembling mind hadn't recovered yet, but he subconsciously seized it. He opened the scroll, and then a thunderous roar suddenly came from it. A powerful battle intent appeared from the void and descended on Shu Ting. Shu Ting's body trembled as he felt a monstrous wind blow by. It was as if an ancient beast was sealed inside, and now that the seal was released, the fierce beast released its monstrous aura. Countless years of anger escaped at once, as if it was going to devour him. Li Yunzi's expression revealed a hint of tension. It was rare for him to show this kind of tension with his cultivation and age. He clearly knew how many talents in his family throughout the years were able to view the first scroll, but were unable to withstand the unimaginable battle intent inside the second scroll before it even opened completely. The less serious consequence was that they be seriously injured and maimed. The more serious consequence, their origin soul would perish. These past few days, without wishing for likes on the video, the like button for the video has quickly fallen to 10th. Urgently wishing for you readers to flip through and see if there's a like button for the video left unpressed. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 94, Corpsean Sect 3. Wu Yu revealed a pleading expression and quickly said, "I can leave this place, but I would like to ask you to go to the corpse sect and ask my senior apprentice brother Yi Zi to come and save me." Wang Lin's expression didn't change. "Do you have a way for me to leave without being noticed by the corpse puppet?" he asked. Wu Yu quickly nodded and sincerely said, "I can use the last of my nascent energy to open up a transfer array that will take you directly to the corpse sect." Wang Lin stared at Wu Yu. He faintly smiled and said, "If you can open up the transfer array, why don't you go back through it?" Wu Yu sighed and said, "The corpse puppet can go more than 100 kilometers away from me, and I can go 100 kilometers away from him. If the corpse puppet leaves the kilometer range, it would immediately die. If I still had my body, my soul would take a heavy injury, but now I am just a nascent soul. I really don't want to die with the corpse puppet." The frequency at which the statue was trembling was increasing. Wu Yu saw that Wang Lin's expression still hadn't changed. He clenched his jaw and said, "I, Wu Yu, swear on my nascent soul that I mean you no harm, so please help me, little friend. I can even gift a die to you." The 9 talismans were already on his body when I found him, and they contain unimaginable power. In addition, I can feel that your spiritual energy contains yin properties. I also use the yin method of cultivation. I assume you came here to use the yin energy for cultivation. The yin energy here is the underworld type of yin energy. If you go to the corpse sect, there is a cultivation spot that has earth-type yin energy. Wang Lin narrowed his eyes and said, "If the corpse sect has a location with earth-type yin energy, why did you come here to make your breakthrough?" Wu Yu gave Wang Lin a deep glance. This youth was very careful. No matter how much he tried to convince him, Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all. After hearing Wang Lin's question, he wryly smiled and said, "Little friend, I have already sworn upon my nascent soul. This corpse puppet is not the same as a living being. Every time it is about to make a breakthrough, it must absorb underworld-type yin energy, so I brought it here." Just at that moment, the statue shook violently and cracks appeared all over its body. A series of crackling sounds could be heard as the cracks became larger, and the statue seemed to be about to collapse. Wu Yu's expression suddenly became very anxious and said, "Little friend, if you want to cultivate your yin technique at the corpse sect, you can pretend to be my disciple. I'll teleport you directly to the corpse sect and they won't suspect a thing. Little friend, consider it yourself." The moment he finished speaking, the statue suddenly shook violently. The cracks now covered the entire statue and some parts even started to fall off. Wang Lin's mind spun. He knew that if he didn't leave, his life would be in danger when that corpse puppet broke in. He instantly knew that the corpse puppet was a cold-hearted killer. Thinking about that, he nodded toward Wu Yu without a word. Wu Yu took a deep breath. Both of his hands constantly formed seals as a pentagonal ring slowly appeared before him. This ring of light emitted a rainbow color, and a small suction force could be felt. At that moment, the statue broke with a bang, and a cold voice came in. "Master, I want to see where you will run to now." "Reveal character." Wu Yu revealed a horrified expression. Without waiting for the transfer array to completely open, he shouted, "Little friend, go quickly. Whether I survive or not is all in your hands." With that, he flew into the stone person floating in the air. At the same time, Wang Lin charged toward the transfer array. The transfer array was unstable and seemed like it might collapse. The strange person hesitated for a bit and followed Wang Lin into the transfer array. Just at that moment, the statue completely collapsed. The young man came in with a mocking smile. However, the moment he saw the transfer array, his expression drastically changed. As for Wang Lin, after he entered the transfer array, he found himself inside a tunnel. He could feel his body being stretched, and there were countless specks of lights flashing by like the stars in the sky. Wang Lin looked back He saw Adai behind him, looking left and right. After Adai noticed that Wang Lin was looking at him, he shouted a few strange words toward Wang Lin. His eyes were no longer cautious of Wang Lin, but were filled with confusion. After an unknown amount of time, a light appeared at the end of the tunnel. The light became larger and larger until it covered most of the tunnel. Wang Lin and Adai felt the suction force from the light and were sucked in. The corpse sect was a demonic sect in Zhao. Although they were weaker than the #1 Sky Demon sect, the corpse sect was much more mysterious. It could be said that the corpse sect was the #1 most mysterious sect in Zhao. How many disciples the sect had, where the sect was located, how many nascent soul cultivators the sect had, and such information were all unknown to the outside world. There were even rumors that the corpse sect had already been completely wiped out. In short, this was a very low-profile sect, but this kind of low profile was something the world could never forget about. The only thing people knew about the corpse sect was their cultivation method. The disciples of the corpse sect only had one chance to refine a corpse. Once they refine one, they will never refine another. This was a very miraculous technique. For the corpse sect's disciples, besides their own cultivation, the cultivation of their corpse puppet was also important. The reason this technique was so miraculous was that 500 years ago, a Foundation establishment disciple had a nascent soul corpse puppet. Although this disciple ended up mysteriously disappearing, his appearance caused a stir in Zhao, especially among the lower-level cultivators who now dreamed of joining the corpse sect. But no matter how many people tried to find it, the corpse sect was like a floating cloud that no one could find. In a location in the far west side of Zhao was an area surrounded by yin energy all year round. Even cultivators didn't come here often. Because aside from the fact that this area was shrouded with yin energy, there was also the 9 earth energy that not even nascent soul cultivators were willing to touch. Anyone below the nascent soul stage would be injured from touching it. Supposedly, areas with this many restrictions should be hiding some sort of big treasure. This was the idea in many cultivators' heads. Finally, a few of the demonic sects got together with their experts and broke the restrictions to search the area. But what surprised everyone was that there was nothing there at all. Some of the people expanded their search to the underground and still found nothing. This treasure hunt turned into a joke. They were mocked by the Orthodox sects. Gradually, due to the fact that this place had many restrictions and no treasure, it was forgotten by everyone. At the center of the plain was an area covered by fog. Inside the fog was a marsh that took up most of the area, and under the marsh was a giant cave. There were numerous tunnels connecting the giant cave to smaller caves and tunnels from those caves to others. The entire underground area was covered with big and small caves connected to each other. This was where the most mysterious demonic sect of Zhao, the corpse sect, was located. The largest cave in the center was the size of several of the Hangyu sect's main hall. Inside were 8 pillars of purple wood, forming a formation. There were endless waves of purple energy emitting from the wood pillars. There were countless strange symbols and patterns carved into the 8 wood pillars. There were also strings of light connecting them. If one looked at them from above, they could see that those lights formed a total of 49 rings of light. Sitting on the 8 wood pillars were 8 young men. A coffin floated behind each one of them. 5 of the rings lit up, and a youth wearing blue and a coffin appeared in the cave. One of the 8 youths on the pillars opened his eyes and looked at the person who had just arrived. He spoke with no emotion in his voice at all. "Where did you came from?" The blue-robed youth quickly bowed and said, "Rank 2 Cultivation Country Lu Corp Sec Branch. I, Lin Yi, am here to participate in the promotion exam." The youth coldly glanced at the person and said, "The TAH cave to the right, go." The blue-robed youth respectfully clasped his hands and exited the formation. Afterward, he calculated for a bit and entered a cave. The youth on the pillar slightly nodded. He no longer minded the blue-robed youth and closed his eyes. Within the next several hours, more people came out of the transfer array. The strongest person to come caused 13 rings to light up. The moment the 13 rings lit up, 2 of the 8 youths opened their eyes. Time slowly passed. The rings in the formation lit up again. This time it was 6 rings. A youth on a wood pillar opened his eyes. Just at that moment there was a sudden flash of light and 7 more rings lit up. What is this? At that moment another youth opened his eyes. The 2 looked at each other, then carefully looked at the formation. Shortly after, the formation flashed again and the amount of rings to light up increased from 13 to 28. It seems there is a senior coming here. 2 more youths opened their eyes. There was a hint of respect in the 4 youths' cold gazes as they stared at the formation. The moment that was said, there was a rumbling sound coming from the formation as the number of rings of light that were lit up increased from 28 one by one. The remaining 4 youths opened their eyes with shocked expressions. When 40 rings lit up, the 8 of them stood up, kneeled down on one knee, and formed a strange sign as they said, "Welcome, senior." Lately, Leo has been having half headaches, always seeming to see light waves in the form of lines, affecting my vision, sometimes momentarily half blinded, perhaps too exhausted. Chapter, Secret of the Battle Scrolls. Li Yunzi knew that what they saw and felt was beyond the limit of the mind. Only a few people were able to open the second scroll. Even so, they were only able to open it a little. As for those who could completely open the second scroll throughout the countless generations, there were only 3 people, including himself. Only those 3 could completely open the second scroll. Shu Ting's face was deathly pale, his body trembled, and a lot of sweat poured out. His eyes were in a daze as he stared at the scroll that was opened by a sliver. He felt a fierce aura charging out from the small opening in the scroll, and it wanted to devour him. This made him feel very uncomfortable, as if something was being suppressed in his chest. He wanted to let out a roar to release it, but he couldn't make a sound. A roar that came from the ancient times echoed in his ears. Then a violent wind blew at him, causing his clothes and hair to flutter. He was in a trance and had an illusion that he was a lonely boat struggling among turbulent waves. However, Shu Ting was a talented junior from the Shu family of planet Donglin. He had entered the celestial pool where his domain melted, but he obtained his celestial origin. If he was in the ancient cultivation world, he would be a true celestial. At this moment, he took a deep breath and his eyes shined brightly. Under this desperate situation, he suppressed the terror in his heart as he stared at the scroll, and his trembling hand slowly opened it. This scene caused Li Yunzi's eyes to light up and reveal a hint of admiration. He thought Shu Ting was one of the few cultivators who could comprehend the first scroll within 4 seconds. Normally, when cultivators like him open up the second scroll, they can only open it. I just don't know how much he can open it. Wang Lin's expression was still neutral as he coldly stared at Shu Ting. Shu Ting's hands trembled even more violently. Every time he opened the scroll a bit more, the fierce aura became even more intense. He felt as if he was holding an ancient beast in his hand and was going to open the seal to allow it to devour him. Time slowly passed as the scroll opened more and more in Shu Ting's trembling hands. His clothes were soaked in sweat and his face was pale. Shu Ting had opened the battle scroll about, and the battle intent coming from the scroll was already intense. A storm appeared and swept by, causing a series of rumbles. A burst of black light came from the scroll and shrouded Shu Ting. Shu Ting's mind trembled, but there was an unyielding force inside his heart. He clenched his teeth as all his celestial origin energy surged, and he mercilessly opened the scroll. There was a thud when he opened the scroll. Li Yunzi suddenly stood up and unimaginable surprise filled his eyes. Just at the instant the battle scroll opened, a roar of a beast came from inside. Large amounts of black mist came out and turned into a giant beast that attempted to devour Shu Ting. Hang on. There was anticipation in Li Yunzi's eyes. Shu Ting's body trembled. The moment the fierce beast charged at him, he coughed out blood and his body was knocked back. There were popping sounds and large amounts of blood burst out from his body. Letting out a miserable smile, he landed more than feet away with a thud. As for the battle scroll, it immediately closed and floated in the air. It was as if the scene just now hadn't happened. Li Yunzi let out a sigh. This Shu Ting was able to open the scroll 70%. Although he wasn't able to resist the beast inside the battle scroll. He was already an extremely outstanding individual among the people that had attempted to open the battle scroll over the countless years. He waved his right hand and the scroll flew toward Wang Lin. Li Yunzi gloomily said, "Shumu." Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he grabbed the battle scroll and looked at Li Yunzi. He had no relation with Li Yunzi, so Li Yunzi must have had other motives for wanting him to observe the second scroll. Now that he saw Shu Ting's miserable state, he was even more certain. Most importantly, Wang Lin clearly saw that the sliver of source origin Shu Ting had obtained from the first scroll was taken by the beast when it devoured him. This battle scroll is interesting. Wang Lin revealed a smile as he grabbed the battle scroll and suddenly opened it. The battle scroll was suddenly opened by Wang Lin. That fierce ancient aura surged out of Wang Lin, as if it wanted to devour him. Li Yunzi stared at Wang Lin. Actually, although Li Yunzi initially valued Wang Lin, his expectations weren't high. Wang Lin was not the first non-family member he allowed to view the battle scroll. However, over the countless years at most they only managed to open a majority. No one had been able to completely open it. However, the scene that unfolded before him caused Li Yunzi's impression of Wang Lin to change drastically. Wang Lin was able to set a condition and borrow Qing Shui to suppress him. All this sounds simple, but how many people in the cultivation world could grasp the chance so perfectly? Even more so, how many people in the cultivation world dared to do such a thing before him? Compared to Shu Ting, he was expecting a lot more from Wang Lin's performance. That fierce ancient aura surrounded him didn't cause Wang Lin's expression to change at all. In his view, this was not nearly as strong as his ancient god aura. It was just like a small beast roaring before him. No matter how much it roared, it was still weak. Wang Lin calmly opened the scroll. As he opened it, the fierce aura became even stronger and turned into a gust that swept Wang Lin. However, this gust wasn't able to move Wang Lin at all. Li Yunzi's pupils shrank and shined brightly as he stared at Wang Lin. At this moment, a majority of Shu Ting's celestial origin had collapsed. He looked at Wang Lin with endless hatred and complex emotions. Wang Lin's actions weren't fast. After opening the scroll, he let out a cold snort. Not wanting to waste any more time, he suddenly opened up the scroll. At this instant, the beast that devoured Shu Ting formed with a thunderous roar and attempted to devour Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he stared at the beast rushing toward him and shouted, "Damned animal, you dare!" This roar was like thunder that split open the sky and rumbled across the cultivation planet. Even the mountain peak Wang Lin was standing on rumbled and showed signs of collapse. Cracks appeared in the earth nearby, forming large fissures. If he encountered a powerful cultivator, Wang Lin may not be strong enough to deal with him, but this mere ancient beast spirit wasn't enough to shake Wang Lin's mind. At this moment, Wang Lin was an ancient god. Also, he wasn't an ordinary ancient god but a 5-star royal ancient god. The fierce beast let out a roar and then a whimper, then its body that was charging at Wang Lin stopped. Fear filled the beast's eyes. It was frightened by the words Wang Lin said before the scroll. At that instant, it felt an aura that made it tremble before this cultivator. It clearly remembered that this aura was something it didn't dare to provoke. This incredible scene caused Li Yunzi's eyes to widen. Even with Li Yunzi's cultivation, he couldn't help but become startled, but soon his heart was filled with ecstasy. This Shumu was able to make the beast's spirit retreat in fear. The only person in my Zhan family that could do this over the countless years was the ancestor, Xianxia. Li Yunzi ignored everything else and stared at Wang Lin. Shu Ting clenched his fists, but the shock in his eyes was intense. Wang Lin opened the scroll with zero hesitation after he let out that roar. There was an extremely flamboyant battle character on the scroll that looked like it was going to fly out from inside. It was amazing. An ancient aura came from the word battle, and in that instant, there was a battle Dao shadow in each of his eyes. At this moment, Wang Lin's vision blurred and he sank into this strange domain. It was still that endless space with that old man wearing white. However, this time the old man was sitting, and his right hand continued to draw the word battle in the void. This old man reached the void realm and grasped the boundary of the world. I have left behind no descendants, and my entire cultivation is drawn into the word battle. At this moment, before I attempt to break the edge of the world, I leave behind these 6 battle scrolls in case I fail and lose my life. If someone in the future obtains all 6, then they will become this old man's inheritor. As the old man muttered, his right hand suddenly stopped. There were thousands and thousands of the word battle of varying sizes around him. The old man pointed with this finger, and then all of these words filled with battle intent merged into one word before the old man in the blink of the eye. Battle. The old man's voice was calm, but the moment he said the word battle trembled, turned into a ray of black light, and went into the void. Wang Lin's body trembled as the battle Dao shadow disappeared from his eyes, and he awakened. Li Yunzi quickly walked up. His eyes were filled with excitement as he urgently said, "Did you see it?" Wang Lin silently pondered a bit, and nodded. Just as he was about to speak, Li Yunzi waved his sleeve. Shu Tiang's body more than 100 feet away was swept by a powerful gust of wind and thrown countless kilometers away. Li Yunzi suppressed the excitement in his heart and said, "Now tell me what you saw." Wang Lin slowly said, "Inheritance." Inheritance. It was indeed inheritance. The disappearance of the ancestor must have had great connections with this inheritance. Li Yunzi's expression changed. He naturally had methods of knowing if Wang Lin was telling the truth, but all of this was pointless now. To be able to say the word inheritance was proof enough. When ancestor Xianxia saw the second battle scroll, he said something similar. These past few days I've always been prodding myself to wish for likes on the video, but I always forget. Now there are only the last 12 hours left to double the likes for the video. Tears in the hope of likes. Brothers, don't hold back.